Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga show. And tonight we've got for you, feels like deja vu, doesn't it, Peter? Because I think it's
Well, back in
the
Augsburg.
second watch along we've had, the second Augsburg home game as well. The ones that we've done together, anyway. I think so. Yeah, we do like an Augsburg home game, myself and Peter. But yeah, I mean, obviously Augsburg, the Friday night specialists, hosting Hoffenheim tonight. Hoffenheim, the team that have the worst form record since we came back after the long break as well. So quite an interesting game on paper really today. We know that Augsburg have famously won the last 5 games on a Friday night, so they're trying to make it 6 out of 6 tonight, and they're not going to have a much better chance of doing that, are they, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, this Hoffenheim side, this will be Pellegrino Matarazzo's second match in charge. He's made 4 changes to his starting 11, although I don't think he's going to change the system. Basically, the only change that I could potentially see to this sort of 3-4-3, maybe 3-6-1, you could even call it, is that he's going to maybe put Bebu slightly behind Kasper Dolberg on an axial chain with Christoph Baumgartner on the right. Probably the most important change is Pavel Kaderabek, who's going to serve as the right wing back. And he's gotten Thomas Delaney a little bit of help in midfield via this kid, Tomuchu. So we'll see if Matarazzo can stop this decline. As we were talking about on Tuesday, he seemed to put a light hand into his first match. He wasn't really interested in shaking things up and changing things much, just letting the system roll, observing his players. And, well, it may be his second match back, but you got to start getting results at some point. So should be a very intriguing affair.
Yeah, and it's a really important game as well. If you just take a quick look towards the table, I mean, both these sides in the bottom of the half of the table. Augsburg 13th, Hoffenheim 14th, with only 2 points separating the sides before kickoff. But for me, this is a bigger game for the away side. Actually, it's a bigger game for Hoffenheim. I do believe that Augsburg will be okay regardless. To be honest, I think even if they lose today, Augsburg, they're a side that, unfortunately, their away form is quite poor. I did expect a little bit better from them against Mainz last week, but I thought they were beaten quite meekly in the end, really. And, but they are a good home side. So, that's what always keeps them in the division. And as I've said before, a lot of times about Augsburg, they are a good side this year, in my opinion, especially going forward in attack. And as we see in the lineup, we've got Berisha again starting tonight. He's the danger man, but alongside Yeboah as well starting is an interesting one too. I think from what I've seen of Yeboah, he does look like a pretty good player. Cuts in from the wide and puts in a good ball, especially the winner that he supplied for Berisha against Gladbach. That was an amazing assist and a great finish as well from the striker. I think Demirovic as well. I think he was missing in the last one that we did. He was suspended for that game. So looking forward to see that attacking three really kind of come together tonight and punish this, well, let's be honest, pretty hapless Hoffenheim defence. I mean, they've been shipping goals left, right and centre for the last, pretty much the whole season, let's be honest. And, once again, we see Kabak and your favourite man, Brooks, out there again, who, let's be honest, Brooks has had an absolute nightmare since he came back to the club in January, hadn't he? And we're yet to see him have a single decent performance yet. But is tonight going to be the night, Peter, that we see Brooks improve, do you think?
I think he's going to improve at some point. He's only 30 years old, and he's still a good player. As we were discussing on Tuesday, he was not getting many minutes over there in Benfica. So when he returned to German football, he really had a lot of work to do to get back into form. And it didn't help that the previous trainer, Andre Breitenreiter, immediately put him in charge of anchoring the back three. So he was responsible for not only keeping the defensive chain together, but also initiating attacks with long diagonals and switches and things like that. And coming forward using that big bald head of his, that beautiful big bald head that was made the head of football. So should be interesting to see. Kevin Vogt is starting this evening, and he may be anchoring the back three. You might see Brooks working off to the left-hand side or the right-hand side. I think Kabak usually works right, so you're probably going to see Brooks slanted left. Less pressure on him, less, particularly when it comes to the attack initiation. So hopefully with a little less pressure and some more match practice, we will see the John Anthony Brooks, who was I felt he was in excellent form when he left Wolfsburg, particularly his final matches. I recommended him for the U.S. men's national team with the form that he was in. Hopefully we see him get back there. One of my favorite players. It's been just gut-wrenching to have to watch him perform so poorly. I mean, just rip my heart out of my chest, right? Pump all over.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I know you've been a long time fan. You mentioned him as well in our Runder preview as well, and I remember you saying that like you hope for a big effort from him. But it's been a shock to everyone because I mean he was a great defender for many years at Wolfsburg. You know, like 5-6 years of pretty much okay. He had the odd bad game, he had the odd bad patch of form, but overall he was a very good player.
He was inserted into a team that is hemorrhaging. You know, when we look at Hoffenheim this evening. We're human beings, so there's a certain amount of voyeurism to this catastrophe, right? We don't necessarily want to watch catastrophes. We don't want to watch car crashes that end up in flames and things like this. But it's difficult to avert your eyes, your gaze, when a team is struggling so poorly as Hoffenheim, because they're giving you all these textbook examples of how confidence matters in football. You know, if you're not confident, you don't go into the midfield duels. You don't try anything beyond long vertical balls out of the back. You pass backwards. Your cycles are all messed up. All of the, every last, you can tick the box of every last cliche that you have for a struggling team. And I know this is not the football cliches podcast. It's a good podcast. But well, they really, their whole body language, their whole demeanor is just awful. They have a collective slump of the shoulders. So we either get to see that this evening or we get to see a team gain in confidence. If not, Augsburg are clearly the better team. It's Friday night at the WWK Arena. This is where the Fuggerstädter do their best work, as you were mentioning. So it'll be over with quickly if Hoffenheim cannot pick up their collective posture, make some assertive statements right off the bat, right after the opening whistle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was thinking before this game that a fast start, I think, is really crucial for both sides because we know that Augsburg often do come out very fast at home and they get a lot of early goals. Remember, they scored inside the first 30 seconds against Leipzig, I think it was, earlier in the season. And I think even against Frankfurt, I think they got this season, they've had 2 goals in the first minute in the WWK Arena, or the first 1 or 2 minutes anyway, very, very early on. And they'll fancy the chances of making that 3 today because, as you say, it's not a confident side and they need a good start unless it could be a long evening again here today. And that brings us on to the predictions just as the players are coming out onto the pitch. I think for me, I'm going to start with I've got to say a home win again because I just think Augsburg, they are a strong team at home. They're usually the better side at home even when they lose for me. And I think, for me, they're going to get a 2-1 win. I think Hoffenheim will improve a little bit. But I think that Augsburg they've just got a little bit too much quality up front and at the back for this Hoffenheim side. So I'm going for a 2-1 home win. What about you, Peter?
I'm going to go ahead with 3-0, and we'll see, though. If Hoffenheim come out of the gate ready, if they can keep their shape, if they make some brave decisions and they're courageous in moving upfield with some ideas, we could see a 1-1 draw. But until I see something different from Hoffenheim, I'm tipping 3-0.
Yeah, and let us know your predictions as well. Obviously, we've already had our first prediction of the day in from Callum, who says 1-1. Yeah, I think a lot of people quite hopeful actually for Hoffenheim that they will improve in this game, but I'm just not convinced myself. But we have kicked off, by the way. We've just kicked off in the game. Are you underway as well, Peter, where you are?
I am. I'm just on kickoff here. So how many seconds are you?
About 20 seconds. So I think it's about the same as last time, from what I can see.
About 10 seconds ahead of me on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So good-looking crowd on as well on a Friday night. I'm not sure whether the Augsburg fans will be too happy about having 2 Friday night games. So what do you think about that, Peter? Because we know that the German fans, they like the Saturday games. And obviously, this is a second home game in a freezing cold February that we've had to have in Augsburg. So do you think the fans will be happy about that? Or maybe the fact that they usually win on Fridays might change the view on that a little bit?
Germans don't have a problem with the Friday night fixtures. The Monday night fixtures is a different matter. Those were thankfully brought down, this soulless idea, this attempt to emulate American football with Monday night football. That was something that we took personally and we took to heart and we got rid of through some excellent protests from fan groups all over the country. Friday night fixture, the lone Friday night fixture is okay. The only other thing that bothers German football fans at the moment about kickoffs is the fact that the penultimate match day, the second to last match day, does not feature all matches kicking off at the same time at 15:30 on a Saturday afternoon. We have that for the final match day, but not for the 33rd match day, which used to be the case. That was our proud tradition.
Yeah.
The last two match days, everybody kicked off at the same time. That's your Super Sunday, the highest drama potentially. That was changed last year, and German fan groups are very much upset about that because we want simultaneous kickoffs for our final two rounds, period.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think in La Liga they still do that actually, but I also love that when all the teams kick off together. I mean, we all love the Friday. Obviously, as big fans of the Bundesliga, we all love seeing more live games and things, but that was so exciting when you had all of that happening at one time. All the games, there's so much riding on the games at that time of the season as well. I thought that was superb. I think in the Premier League, there's only the final day as well where all teams kick off together. But it's always one of the best days of the season in every league, I think.
Absolutely.
But yeah, as for the game, I think we've already seen the first mistake, by the way, from Josh Anthony Brooks, who laid a very poor pass, and it was almost a chance from Yeboah, but he was penalised for a pretty soft foul in my eyes. It looked like half a chance there, but pretty poor start from Hoffenheim, and Augsburg are away again, actually, here down the middle. They're the side that have made the fastest start of the two. It's been played out wide. Good interchange there from Augsburg again, and it's been just about knocked behind by Kabak for a corner for Augsburg. And we know that corners constantly prove to be a danger for Augsburg, don't they? Especially with Berisha waiting in the middle. That proved to be the difference against Leverkusen in the last game. Just stay with me while we see this corner. Baumann, the goalkeeper, already looks a little bit nervous there for Hoffenheim after what's been happening in the last few weeks. The Augsburg fans are bouncing. They sense something could come from this corner. It comes in, but it's actually well defended. The first header on well out by Hoffenheim, who win a free kick. So, yeah, well defended there, the first corner.
Indeed. I do believe that Brooks is slanted out left, so that's actually undeniable at this point. You have Kabak right, and you have Vogt operating on an inverted pivot, i.e. he's dropping back there between the other two defenders for maximum protection. You're right, Baumann's body language, his demeanor does not look very positive at this juncture. He's obviously nervous after having conceded so many goals for this team during their terrible run of form that dates back to late October. There's, as a matter of fact, a nice shank clearance from him, as I say those words. So they are looking quite shaky at the back. Augsburg does need to capitalize on this. They need to get that opener, and they need to get it right away in order to make a statement in this match and possibly put it beyond the reach of a team that is on the ropes, completely on the ropes, very disorganized out of the back. Delaney looks very, very lost in midfield as well. We were talking about that on Tuesday, how he just doesn't seem to have his role sorted out. So, yes, not looking good for the Sinsheimers at this particular moment in time.
Yeah. And Bebu's basically just pretty much run out across there as well. So that was half a chance to get a good ball in. I think surely that's got to be a goal kick, right?
Looks to me,
what's going on there?
Yeah, looks to me as if
goal kick given, I think, but they seemed as though the linesman actually gave a corner, but the referee gave a goal kick. So there's a bit of confusion there. It looked like a clear goal kick to me. But let's have a look at the replay there. So Bebu returns Gumni inside out, but yeah, it's a clear goal kick that for me, surely. And Gikiewicz didn't look happy at all there as the linesman actually gave a corner, but I think the referee saw sense and gave a goal kick. But yeah, I mean, just before that as well, we saw the second mistake from Anthony Brooks as well. John Anthony Brooks, who basically just played a really poor pass again straight into the midfield. He just looks so nervous at the moment. He just looks completely lost in that side. And I really hope he has a good game tonight in the end, because I also like him as a player. Like, he's someone that we always used to talk up when he played for Wolfsburg. And me and Rory were both really sad to see him leave the league, to be honest, to Benfica. But obviously, he only left for 6 months after I don't know, how did he actually do in Benfica, Peter? Did you follow his career over there?
Yeah, no, he as I was talking about earlier, he barely got minutes. So you can see that
Yeah.
he's not 100% match fit at the moment. I have been covering John Anthony Brooks in detail as part of my Deep Scout Americans in the Bundesliga column there on Bully News, because I like to torture myself and give football preference and work preference over to a social life. I've seen some glimmers of what he's capable of. There were some occasions, particularly in his last two fixtures, in which he went upfield, put that head of his in service of a good firing away.
Goal, by the way, the first goal. Yeah, go on, you can talk us through that one. Awful defending again there.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. And they all gave up. They wanted an offside there. See if we get one. It is indeed.
It was scrappy, to say the least. It looked like something should be wrong with that. I mean, I think even the Augsburg players seem to think there's something wrong with that one. I mean, it was very scrappy, wasn't it?
Oh, it is our boy Arnie Engels who gets the tally if this is not knocked off. That's the one that
nothing wrong with the first part, but it looked like it could have been an offside in the middle.
Yeah, I'm having a look at the replay now.
I don't see anything wrong with it, to be honest.
No, there's no offside.
They're saying handball, though, actually, was it? Yeah, it was a handball. Yeah, there was a clear handball there, yeah. It'll be chalked back, this one.
Yes, Engels handled the ball as it came up on him after his initial touch. Yeah, looks to be the case. That one is probably going to come back, indeed. That's why everybody stopped playing.
Yeah, I was going to say there must be something pretty obvious, because even the Augsburg players didn't really celebrate much.
True.
Yeah, it has been chalked off. Yeah, it's been chalked off. Yeah, so the scoreboard still says 1-0. There seems to be a bit of confusion there, but it has been chalked off, and the score is still 0-0. But a little bit worrying, though, because Augsburg are just carving them apart so easily. Whenever they get the ball, it's just all Augsburg at the minute. It's finally been taken off the scoreboard there. Yeah, a little bit of confusion there. It took a good minute after the restart before the goal was taken off the scoreboard, but it is still 0-0. But would you say it's been a positive start from Augsburg, Peter?
I would say it's been an atrocious start from Hoffenheim. Really the back three is not keeping together. It looks like Brooks has now moved center. Matarazzo has probably ordered a shift to put Brooks up there on a straight pivot. But I mean, of course, that's also one of the drawbacks of this very, very wide shape that Matarazzo inherited from Breitenreiter, and he decided to keep. Is that on the track back, I mean, the wing backs are deployed so wide that they're not available for coverage in the box. Yes, you want Angelino involved and whoever his partner is, Kaderabek in this case, involved. But, I mean, they have nothing to offer on the coverage. I don't understand why Matarazzo is sticking with this back three from his predecessor. This should have been junked as soon as he was placed in charge. He has enough players to build a back four. And, I mean, you could deploy Angelino as a straight winger. Why not? You know, he doesn't need to be a wing back where he can't affect the play, a forward play a forward driving play that doesn't exist at the moment. So, yeah, Hoffenheim continue to look very shaky. Would not be surprised at all to see Augsburg put in the back of the net in the next 5-6 minutes.
And these aimless long balls forward as well. This is what it's not that Hoffenheim are always a side that have played some pretty nice football through the midfield, through the likes of Geiger. But today, so far, when they've had the ball, I mean, we're being a little bit harsh. It's still 0-0 at the end of the day. But, you know, like they've not started the game well, either going forward or at the back at all. And Augsburg look confident, you know, despite losing the last away game, you know, they know that they get most of the results at home. So they wouldn't have worried too much about that. And they picked up from where they left off against Leverkusen, which was a really good performance, you know, against a side that they were second favourites against at the end of the day in that match. But in this game, they're definitely hot favourites, really, for me. And I think they've started in a positive way. I think especially some of the combination, he's really so... Arnie Engels is a really, really influential player in this team now. As you mentioned, he's such a young man that was signed, really just expected to go into the U23s, I think, wasn't he, really? And he's come straight into the team, and he's been absolutely brilliant so far from in the games that I've seen him, Peter.
I agree. There's a nice towering aerial win from my boy Brooks. Of course, he couldn't get the ball clear ultimately, and now everybody's at 6s and 7s again at the back. Engels, a very important player, the Belgian youth international. As we were joking last time we got together to watch Augsburg 2 weeks ago, we joked that now the Fugerstädter have to sign a Marx so we can have Marx and Engels.
Yeah.
He's been a very influential player. He's effectively moved Arne Meyer out to the wing. Arne Meyer, the midfielder who was supposed to be pairing with Nicolas Dorsch. Dorsch is once again available now after injury, but he can't find his way into the lineup thanks to the play of Engels. He's been phenomenal. I wrote an article about him shortly after our last match day, in which Enrico Maassen really praised his surprising maturity. Probably could have done a little bit better than, obviously making himself big and putting the hand on that ball prior to the goal. But he has demonstrated a remarkable maturity for a man of his age, and he's playing at a Bundesliga club. That is, well, they're not at the top of the table. They still are a pretty good club, particularly after all these January signings. And he's beaten out some very, very impressive competitors to get that slot. So one to watch in the future. Has started every game for Augsburg since the break.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget just how much quality is in this Augsburg side at the moment. Like, I've been following the Bundesliga for a long time, and for me, I'm not sure I can remember a better Augsburg squad of players. Really, I really can't remember it. I just think there's so many good players, a lot of young, promising players as well, like Yeboah that came in January. As you mentioned, Engels has just been an absolute, revelation, really, and he looks like already like a quality player, and he's only going to get better, in my opinion.
Oh, don't forget Vega, who's starting at left back.
Yeah, of course,
today as well.
Yeah, another important player. And then I think what's going to be key in the summer, though, is trying to tie Berisha down to a longer contract, because obviously he's only on loan at the moment from Fenerbahce. He's a general goal scorer, which is what they probably lacked in pretty much all the time in the Bundesliga. I can't ever remember them having like a top goal scorer to the level of Berisha before, but I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to keep on to him into next season, to be honest. What do you think, Peter? Have you heard anything that they are likely to keep him longer, or do you think another Bundesliga club might come in?
They're going to try. As we've discussed multiple times on this podcast when discussing Augsburg, they have some money behind them now. Yeah. So if they can't get their preferred candidates, their loan deals signed to long-term deals in the summer, they will simply look elsewhere. There's a nice headed win from my boy Brooks. Again, can't get it clear. There's only so much you can do with your head, even the head that's perfectly made.
Yeah. Perfect for heading, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think you have a very good one too, Marcus.
No, yeah. I was a great header in my day.
Perfectly designed to do that. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting players in this Augsburg squad. It's a very, very interesting team where they're at with this new financial backing from Bolt Football Holdings in the U.S. It's a team that is in the Bundesliga to stay. I don't think they factor into the relegation race. And yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about the Fugerstädter. We talked a lot about the city in general. We talked a lot about the area in general. Last time we were here, we are discussing back-to-back home fixtures for the Fugerstädter.
Yeah,
and they are a team that's just sort of, most people treat them like a quiet team from the Bavarian section of Swabia. But after 12 years in the top flight uninterrupted and always managing to avoid the drop, qualifying for Europe under Markus Weinziel during his first stint. They're here to stay whether you like it or not. So you get to learn about Augsburg. There is a
half chance there actually for the away side.
Yeah, a little bit of a failed clearance there from the Augsburg defensive ranks, or was it Giekewitz who pawed it when he should have punched it. And somehow Dolberg was not in position to receive the header. I believe he was maybe giving way for his colleague Baumgartner there. Well,
it was a half chance though, because it did arrive on the head, but it was a really unconvincing header, I think, by Baumgartner in the end, wasn't it? Which was quite poor in the end. But it was a half chance for the away side, which is the first time we've really seen them attacking in this whole match. Just about 15 and a half minutes to 16 on the clock now. It's been all Augsburg, really. But, part of me thinks maybe Augsburg might have felt as though they missed a trick, really. Maybe they should have had that goal, because obviously they had the goal disallowed. But, Peter, would you say that Augsburg might be a bit disappointed they've not capitalised on this slow start by the away side?
Sure. Prior to that disallowed goal, that featured a wonderful run from Yeboah. He had almost no competition from anyone in the Hoffenheim back three. And then was it Yeboah? Yeah, who pulled it back for Engels, who ran forward in a good position. I think Engels is off to an excellent game. I think Uduokai, one of your favorite players to pronounce,
great
come
name.
forward and orchestrated some good switches. Rex guy has also been good. There isn't anybody clad in red that I've been disappointed with thus far. I think they're moving the ball well, and they definitely should have a 1-0 advantage at this point.
Yeah, probably a little bit more composure, as you mentioned before, from Engels, and like would still have been 1-0. He probably didn't need to handle it, really, did he, in the end? Because he had time to, even if he'd have let it drop, I think he would have still been able to get the shot off. And, it was a very well positioned just outside the area, maybe, 17, 18 meters away from the goal. But yeah, obviously.
Expecting a Hoffenheim win, he is.
Yeah, Balam's going for. He loves the village teams. Balam. I know that he's a big fan of Wiltzing as well down here in Bavaria. Well, a cross just comes in, or a really good ball, and he's given a free kick for that, which seemed a little bit soft against the Augsburg attacker, yes. Berisha. But yeah, it was a really good ball coming in from the right-hand side of the Augsburg attack. But yeah, it's actually well defended there. Really, it is well defended by the number 5, who is Kabak, I believe.
Should we address Hoffenheim status as a village team? I mean, when it comes to Hoffenheim, this is a non-50+1 team that Germans are not particularly fond of. We can go into greater detail about Dietmar Hopp, the president of SAP, a billionaire who financed his small village team. I mean, Hoffenheim, the village was initially only 3,000. But Hopp, who was interested in investing in German football for quite some time, he was curious as to, I think we clearly have an offensive foul on Bebu there. He was interested in perhaps starting a new team, merging Sandhausen with Heidelberg. In the end, he couldn't get that deal done, so he just poured all of his money into his hometown club. Now, Hopp has a 98% share in Hoffenheim. So this is a true billionaire-backed team. I know that we perhaps have some Hoffenheim fans watching this evening. We could talk about some of the controversy that this team has in the league. Actually, the Dietmar Hopp protests just prior to the COVID lockdown. You recall those?
Yeah. When Bayern Munich, I think it was the Bayern fans, right, and then they refused to play the rest of the game. They just kicked it around in solidarity with Dietmar Hopp, I think, yeah.
Yes. It began with, it was a Dortmund fan who initially put up a photo of Dietmar Hopp in rifle crosshairs, and that occurred in 2018. The protests started popping up again on match day 23 of the 2019-20 campaign. This was just prior to COVID lockdown. What happened is that the German refs began stopping the match whenever these crosshair photos came up. It initially happened in Gladbach, and the German refs stopped the match based on the UEFA anti-discrimination protocols. It didn't help that these protests reemerged on the very same weekend that there was a mass shooting in Germany. It was in Hanau at a mall. So the match official at the time felt justified in stopping the match based on anti-discrimination protocols. And this happened in the Bayern-Hoffenheim match later on that weekend. And the players, after the break, did, in protest, just kick the ball around. Bayern were winning 6-0 anyway, so there was no contest.
Bayern were happy, I think, in the end, really.
Yes. Well, those were famous scenes. I remember I was covering the Bundesliga for a now defunct site at the time, and wrote several editorials on the scenes. And then, of course, what happened afterwards is that the fans, the German ultras, who love a good excuse to protest, began their own anti-DFB protests the following weekend, and there were several match stoppages. There was one in at the Stadion on the Alte Försterei and Union and all of these things. Basically, the stance of the German fans at that time was that, okay, we're in favor of anti-discrimination protocols, but look at the actual statutes that are put down by UEFA. And the reason that these matches were being stopped was because of discrimination based on income. So there were all of these signs that said, we're protecting billionaires now. I mean, the ultras were so mad that, because many German ultra groups are quite liberal, and they do believe in anti-discrimination protocols, but not, for protection of billionaires. So that was a very, very interesting protest movement. It would have been very, very interesting to see where it would have gone had COVID lockdown not took place.
Yeah.
Because the fans were going to continue to put those banners up, not just Dietmar Hopp in the crosshairs, but also calling him a Hurensohn, which easily translated "son of a whore." It would have been interesting to see where that would go. Of course, then COVID lockdown happened, and the fans went away, so the protests went away. Those particular line of protests went away.
Yeah. And never restarted, really, so far, anyway.
Well, I mean, after COVID, we were just happy to be back in the stadium.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously, there was no reason to continue those protests. But Hoffenheim, a team very, very much disliked for its 50+1 violation.
Yeah.
There are those who say that, yes, but what Dietmar Hopp is doing with his village team, it's a labor of love. He's putting this money into the team, to his hometown team to support his hometown club and his community. Now, and he has done some good. The TSG Hoffenheim women's team, particularly for women's football opponents and diehards like myself, have done great things for German women's football, and they still play in Sinsheim. They still play at the old Dietmar Hopp ground there, in Hoffenheim. The TSG Hoffenheim plays at the Prazer Arena in Sinsheim. This big,
it's Sinsheim.
Yeah, exactly. So there are many of us who think, okay, Dietmar Hopp has done some good for Germans football, particularly the women's game, which we want to see grow and we want to see succeed. They're still taking the place of more traditional clubs in the top flight. That's why many Germans would not be very sad to see them relegated this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously they are always bottom of the list when it comes to attendances as well. I'm not sure their exact average attendances, but it's definitely less than 20,000, which is very, very low by Bundesliga standards, because a lot of teams get 40, 50, or even 60,000+ in the Bundesliga every week, Hoffenheim, if any of you watch the games regularly, like that, it's always the stadium with the lowest capacity full as well. I think usually it's around about 50 or 60% full, the stadium for every match day. And unless the team is doing very well, of course, then it can change a little bit because you get the fair weather supporters coming out of the woodwork then. But obviously the last few seasons haven't been so successful for the Sinsheimers. And what would you say to that, Peter? Do you think it is disappointing? Because the Bundesliga is famous for great crowds. It has, I think, after the NFL, I think it has the highest average attendance in the whole world for any sports league.
It leads all football leagues in attendance, has done so for 10, 12 years. And you will not find an atmosphere in the stadium at all if you go to see TSG Hoffenheim. There are some fan groups that are trying, but you have to realize that there's no history behind this team. There's no entrenched, this is the first generation of fans. If you go anywhere else in Germany, why does somebody support VfL Bochum? Why does somebody support FC Augsburg? Why does someone support Hannover 96 or any other team, with the exception of Wolfsburg, Leverkusen, Leipzig, and Hoffenheim? It's because my father did, and his father, and my family did, and this is my home. This is my community. This is my heart. You can't get that in Sinsheim because they just came out, along with Leipzig, they just came out of existence. So you're not.
I always wondered, where do their fans actually come from? Because I mean, they're not all teenagers and things. Some of them are adults. Like, was it just a case that they literally didn't support a team before that, or what? Because I always find it funny that, like, as you mentioned, they are a new club, and like they had basically nobody supported them when they were down in like the the 8th and 9th tier, which they were maybe 20 years ago. Do you understand? Before Dietmar Hopp obviously purchased and started pumping money into the club, like they were lower level Regionalliga, not even like 4th or 5th tier. I think they were like 6th, 7th, or even 8th tier at times. So where did their fans come from, do you think?
Well, they're from the Rhein-Neckar region. That's basically, when you look at German districts, the Rhein-Neckar district is an interestingly drawn district around the River Rhine. As a matter of fact, they're not far from where my father and his family came from in Karlsruhe. So they kind of drew from fans that were maybe supporting clubs that didn't have a lot of success in that region, like Heidelberg, like Sandhausen, like Ettlingen, like Mannheim, and things like that. There were some people who supported those clubs, but then said, okay, we have a new club that sort of makes the Rhein-Neckar region proud. And Hopp has built this for us, and he's built this stadium for us, and we're going to try. They are trying. I mean, the fan groups are trying. They come out and they have some flags, and sometimes they bring drums. Obviously, they don't have the deep German protest spirit, because they're usually the ones being protested against. Now, I mean, as to what's been going on with Hoffenheim the last couple of years, that was the second part of your question. I think the club made a horrible mistake in parting company with Alfred Schreuder, the Dutch trainer. They parted company with at the end of the 2019 campaign. Schreuder actually led them to Europe. He led them to an Europa League berth, just as Julian Nagelsmann did. Julian Nagelsmann even led them to the Champions League when he was the trainer at Hoffenheim. But I think what club management did, I was surprised to see Alexander Rosen is the sporting director for Hoffenheim. When Breitenreiter got sacked, I fully expected him to get sacked as well. Dietmar Hopp has actually done this before. He did it back in 2013, I think it was, where he sacked both his general manager and his head coach at the same time. And I thought he was going to do it again, because Rosen made a terrible call in bringing in Sebastian Hoeneß, who is Uli Hoeneß's nephew. He's the son of Dieter Hoeneß. And at the time, Sebastian Hoeneß was coaching FC Bayern 2, the Bayern campus squad, the youth academy squad. So what they did was they dismissed Schreuder and they brought in a big name. They wanted a big name. They wanted Hoeneß brand Fußball, Dieter Hoeneß's son, Uli Hoeneß's nephew. We want, the Bayern stamp of the Hoeneßes here. And it turned out that Hoeneß was a terrible coach. He specialized in underachieving with a very, very big talent pool. And Breitenreiter couldn't fix it, in part because he rolled with most of what Hoeneß had in place. And the two key things for Hoffenheim this season have been the Grisha Prömel injury. Grisha Prömel, who the former FC Union man, who actually came back to Hoffenheim. You don't see that very often, but he returned to Hoffenheim. He wanted to be there. He was like, him and Sebastian Rudi are the only guys who really want to play for Hoffenheim, or Hoffenheim players. So they never recovered from the Grisha Prömel injury. He was their sort of midfield, their buttressing attacker on the second axis, who set everything up. And the Jorginho Rutter sale in the January transfer window. Who's replacing Rutter's goals? Nobody.
Rutter was their best player for me for the last 2 years, to be honest. He was a quality player. And although they did get a big amount of cash from, I think, 40 million euros or something, which is a lot of money, but the money wasn't reinvested, was it? And as you say, I think Dietmar Hopp has probably said, you have enough quality in that squad, and they just need to find the right coaching team to get it out of them, because as you say, they don't have a bad squad by any means.
Yeah, but they've this Hoeneß thing was, all they wanted was name recognition. They didn't care about whether or not he was a competent trainer or not. Yes, he did lead FC Bayern 2 to the Dritte Bundesliga title, but they didn't. He was That's the dritte Bundesliga, and it's FC Bayern 2. I mean, for Christ's sake, I mean, they win the dritte Bundesliga title every 4 or 5 years just by default. So, all right. I see a question from Balam here about Wolfsburg. If you want to throw that up here. I've answered that question before. Germans were not very enthusiastic about Wolfsburg at all for many, many years. For many, many years, Wolfsburg and Leverkusen as well, they enjoyed the amount of disdain that Hoffenheim and Leipzig do now. So what happened? Well, in Wolfsburg's case, the ultra groups really got together, and they turned out to be fun ultra groups to hang out with. You know, if you went to the Autostadt, if you went to the Volkswagen Arena, the Wolfsburg Ultras, and I have gone and I've hung out with them. They're a good bunch. They have a good sense of humor. They bring a good atmosphere, and the same happened with Leverkusen. So after many, many years, as we see, was that Angelino?
Yeah, half a chance there from Angelino. Yeah, probably the best chance of the game, really.
The best chance of the game. So what happened over time was that the fan scene grew. The teams did represent Germany in Europe and represent them well. Does that mean that Germans are now enthusiastic about Wolfsburg and Leverkusen? Not really. I mean, they're teams that also have Leverkusen not so much, but Wolfsburg also has horrible attendance. You know, it's a tiny little Dorf town, it's a company town, and it doesn't have the kind of support that the other clubs have. So Germans, I mean, we'll watch Wolfsburg and Leverkusen, we'll root for them in Europe, but they're not necessarily teams that we would like to see win in Europe. And we wouldn't be sad if either one of them got relegated. So that's what happened. They built a little bit of a history, and they don't enjoy the same disdain, from Germans that they do, that Hoffenheim and Leipzig do now. But it takes time, and it takes effort from the fans. Always need effort from the fans.
Yeah, I mean, the fan culture is so big in Germany, but it's interesting. I also got similar kind of sentiments as well when I asked people that I know here in Nuremberg about what they think about these clubs. And another point is, I think a lot of people's problem is that these clubs always seem to get into Europe as well. And that's part of the problem. I think a lot of German fans believe that the likes of RB Leipzig and perhaps to a lesser extent Bayer Leverkusen, they're regulars in the Champions League, and they take away a spot from some of the more traditional clubs that could be in there instead. I mean, if you think about it this season, if you take Leipzig out of the race, probably Union or Freiburg will get in there. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's one of the problems as well. They're okay to an extent with these clubs being in the league, but the fact that they get so much success as well, I think, is one of the problems, because they take away from, some of these really nice clubs, like FC Köln, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Freiburg, Union Berlin, 50+1 stalwarts, basically. They take away, and also potential income that can come from the European race as well. That's the other problem. So I think that was another reason why a lot of the fans are not so happy about that.
And they're not fan-owned clubs. I mean, we can tolerate the fact that Leverkusen and Wolfsburg also, one of the reasons a lot of Germans came around to that is they said, okay, they're sponsored by German companies that bring a lot of jobs to the area. You could say the same about Hoffenheim and Dietmar Hopp's software company, SAP. It does bring a lot of jobs to the area. It does help the local economy. So, give it about 20 years, and Germans might be prepared to accept another company club.
Yeah.
Leipzig sometimes gets a little bit of a pass because we wanted representation from the East, as I've said multiple times on this podcast.
Just as Angelino takes a free kick as well here, Arnie Engel's got a book, and I'll just take you through this free kick. It's a really, really good position, this one. Mm-hmm. Angelino straight into the wall, but it's come back, and it's once again blocked again. Wasted chance for the away side Hoffenheim there.
Let me see who blocked it, since I'm a little behind you. Was it? Well, I always, it was straight into the wall. Don't you love those moments where the guy who is the plank in the wall, i.e. the guy who lays down?
The plank's been a great addition, actually, in this last 2 years. Before that, we didn't used to see it, but I'm sure that the plank stops so many goals now, actually.
I'm on such dead ball situations, on such set pieces, I'm always rooting for the plank. I want to see the plank get involved.
Yeah, and he got it there.
Elvis Rexford guy as the plank. So I want to see him.
It's a mug's job if there ever was one. That yeah. But again, at the moment, it's all Hoffenheim, really. Augsburg have struggled the last 15 minutes or so, I would say. They had a few chances early on in the match, but they've not kind of gone on with that. And actually, Hoffenheim have grown into the match quite nicely, haven't they, Peter? I think the midfield have got the foot on the ball. The likes of Baumgartner has had a little bit more play. Still not so sure about Delaney and Tuhumku in the midfield, but Angelino and especially Baumgartner have been getting a little bit of play.
We're going to have more fun with pronunciation this week, right?
Yeah, that's another great name. Yeah. Is it Tuhumku from like the Turkish sound?
The problem is I've not heard his name stated orally many times. Yeah. So I say Tuhumku. That's my Turkish intuition, or my German Turkish intuition, if you will. But I've not heard his name called many times. Yeah. He's actually, along with American/German international youth international Justin Che. He's one of two youth squad players who Breitenreiter. He was impressed with them in January camp, as we see Brooks. Loose, pretty slack mark on Yeboah there, but
he was really. Yeboah looks like the danger man at the moment. Actually, he's probably been Augsburg's best player in this game, along with Arnie Engels, who did, by the way, pick up a booking. Although terrible clearance out from the back has presented a great chance for Augsburg, who get the shot away. What are they doing with that playing out of the back? Some of it is appalling at times. Yeah. It ended up being a really good. It was Baumgartner who gave the ball away hopelessly there ahead of Delaney, and it was who brilliantly won the ball back. The strike came in, but it was a pretty comfortable save by Baumann. But that was probably Augsburg's best chance. And now they've won the ball again deep into the Hoffenheim half. Goes wide, but it's wasted this time by Berisha. Couple of good chances in a short space of time, Peter.
Yeah. I mean, that's. You can see that I think Hoffenheim are still shaky. As a matter of fact, I'm not really satisfied with their midfield build-up play. They have grown into the game a little bit more, but a lot of this is wide lateral switches out to the flanks. Angelino is quite active in Hungary. Of course, he's a great player in that respect. Yeah.
Now they've got a free kick as well, Augsburg. So it's been an absolutely dreadful last 2 minutes from TSG.
Kabak is a type of player who just loses his shit. I mean, he really has trouble controlling his temper.
He's never been a player that I overly rated, to be honest. I think if you look at the clubs he's played for, you'd think he's a world beater, but he's never been a player that's ever.
I think he's a good player. I think that I liked his work at Schalke, and I liked a lot of his work in the first half of the season in Hoffenheim. But he really does have disciplinary issues. He actually was banned 3 or 4 years back, I think, for spitting. Yeah. I mean, he's a guy who, if you watch him, particularly when it's not going so well for his team, he will really lose it and commit some horrible, dirty fouls and things like this, and drag his team down further. He's just not a guy who's capable of keeping a level head, which is bad news at this level, unfortunately.
Yeah. And now Vega puts a ball in. Literally, Augsburg have had like 4 chances in the last 2 minutes, I would say, to get a good ball in it. They haven't managed to capitalize again, but things are getting absolutely desperate for Hoffenheim again at the back at the moment. As you mentioned, it's going to be a long last 50 minutes or so for Kabak, as you say, because when he's on a booking, he's not the kind of player that can rein it in. And as again, Vega puts a ball in, which is well defended, but Hoffenheim look ragged at the moment, Peter.
Well, it looks like Callum Brennan said Norwich had a guy called Kabak. Yes, that was the same guy.
That was him, yeah.
But Norwich, he was. Schalke were really trying to get rid of him. I mean, he was once a 20 million euro valued player. So he, along with
surely a goal's coming soon for Augsburg. Yeah, this has been a ragged last 3 or 4 minutes from the away side.
From Vogt. Him and Suat Serdar, Amin Harit, Nassim Boujalev, these are all examples of the Schalke players from the 2020-21 relegation campaign. Overvalued guys that Schalke weren't interested in hanging on to, even after they sent them out on loan. So they were desperately trying to get rid of them. They finally found takers for Serda and Hertha Berlin and Kabak here in Hoffenheim. But they are overrated players to a certain extent. But I do like, look, when Kabak's on, he's a very, very good defender, I think that he's present in the duels. I think that he's capable of timing his challenge as well, and bravely helping his team move upfield, which we just saw him do at the beginning of a sequence. I guess they're going to crawl up via throw-ins. That's sometimes the best thing that a team with very low confidence can hope for.
Yeah, especially after the last 5 minutes they've enjoyed, where I think they gave the ball away 4 times in their own half in the last 3 or 4 minutes, which is Brooks is, again, he was guilty for at least 2 of them as well. It's just it's just not working out for him, is it? And they seem to have no link between defense and midfield. That's the problem with Hoffenheim. As you mentioned, Delaney again has just been like a passenger really for long parts of this game. When they get it out wide, they look a little bit better, and they've got a few tricky players on the wings. The likes of Baumgartner can drift wide. Bebu is half decent as well, but it's just they don't really seem to have any proper midfield, do they, Peter, at the moment? And there's a lot of long balls too from the away side.
Yeah. I mean, I maybe it's time to insert Angelo Stiller back into the 11. Stiller was one of Hoeneß's pet projects, who had his form dips. That's why Brighton Rider ultimately dropped him out of the 11. But Rudy is kind of past his prime. Other than that, they don't really have a lot of midfielders. That's one area where this club is kind of thin. So they don't really have those options. And I'll just repeat that Grisha Prömel, he was really doing such a fantastic job for them, during the first half of the season. As we see, there is Berisha getting booked.
Yeah, talking to players that can't rein it in, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's his only problem, because I absolutely love the guy, but I'm pretty sure there's never been a game this season where he's not been booked.
I'm not even sure what is he booked?
I'd love to know how many yellow card points he's picked up this season. I think he's had at least 1 red, possibly 2 reds, I think, as well.
Well, perhaps we should put a helmet on him and say he's our new Klaus Giasula. You remember the
he gets so many bookings for descent as well, which must be a little bit frustrating for Enrico Maaßen, the trainer of Augsburg, because he's a player that they need, really, isn't he? But he gets so many bookings from descent, and but at the same time, that kind of player, it's part of his character,
Well, I mean, I don't. Augsburg league the lead in bookings, as a matter of fact, and I don't think that troubles Maaßen all that much. I mean, he probably likes the fact that the team is engaged and passionate. As we see in other efforts skied there. Was that Engels? Yeah, that was Engels.
Yeah.
Again. So, that probably doesn't bother him too much. Also, he's got depth at most of the positions, so particularly after this massive January transfer window. So he probably doesn't mind guys picking up their bookings so much, so long as they're passionate about their club and they're passionate about the game. We could do with some better finishing here. We really could.
Engels has been a bit guilty of a few poor efforts, actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna predict XG before it flashes up. I'm gonna say 0.79 for Augsburg and 0.21 for Hoffenheim. That's going to be my prediction as we enter the final minute of play. That could change with
good ball coming in, but it was just a bit too high. I think it was Baumgartner, the shortest man on the pitch, going in for it. But one man who I do think has had a good game is the man that was signed in obviously January, Vega. I've quite enjoyed his performance so far. I just saw him complete a nice little defensive header away there. So on both sides of the ball, he's actually looked good. He's driven a few plays forward. He got by I think at least 2 crosses into the box there. So he's been going forward. He's another impressive debutant. He's another youth prospect. What is he? 19, I think he is.
Yeah. So Portuguese youth international, another one of these players that Augsburg signed during the January transfer window that they did not expect to be playing so quickly, but have done well. I mean, that's actually, we're talking so much about Sebastian Hoeneß, who was the FC Bayern 2 trainer. Enrico Maaßen was the Borussia Dortmund 2 trainer, the one who led them to the Dritte League with a Regionalliga championship. So Maaßen is doing the job at Augsburg, particularly in cultivating young players that Hoeneß was supposed to do at Hoffenheim. if you want to look at it that way, it's possible too.
Yeah. And how would you say that he's doing actually, Marcin? Because I would say it's, in my opinion, the performances have been good, but they've not always got the results. That's the problem. You know, I think even today, some of the football through the midfield has been really good, but a lot better than Hoffenheim's. But they do score goals, but like, I mean, today you do feel as though they probably should have been able to carve out at least one goal out of this so far, because they've had a lot of space in good positions, but it's just been the final ball or the final shot that's been lacking, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Maassen, the thing is, I didn't expect much. I really didn't expect much. I expected a lower mid-table performance, and I expected Stefan Reuter to fire him as the relegation race drew to a close, you know, like the last 4 or 5 match days of the season. Just like he did with Martin, just like he did with Manuel Baum, just like he did with Martin Schmidt, just like he did with Heiko Herrlich. And Markus Weinziel hung on to the end of the season last season, even though he had differences with Reuter, and as a matter of fact, resigned on the last day of the season. So I thought Maassen was just a temporary plug-in to keep this club above the relegation fray until he could bring somebody, a Feuerwehrmann, in to help rescue them from 0.41, 0.27. Okay, I was a little
not
bit
far off.
Yeah, well, with Augsburg, I thought they had more chances than that. Yeah, Hoffenheim was straight on. So yeah, I think he's exceeded expectations, and I think that you know, keeping this club above the relegation fray, I think he'll be able to keep it above the relegation fray as we enter this final stretch of the season, and I think he'll keep his job. Yeah. I mean, look what he's done. We've got players. You've got Arne Meyer and Ermedin Demirovic playing on the wings. These are not wingers. Yeah. He's got them doing that. He's put Engels in there in midfield right next to Rex Bagay. And it works. You know, he's made a right back out of the Dane, Mads Petersen, Mads Valentin, as some people. Yeah. You know, he's really gotten a lot out of these players, and he's put them into interesting positions, and helped them to thrive. So, what more can you expect of a rookie trainer who has never trained a team in Germany's top flight before?
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's doing a good job overall. They just need to, it's games like this today that they need to find a way to win, you know. And I remember against Leverkusen, it was a similar first half, actually. And then he really made some good changes in the tactical changes, and he got the goal quite early in the second half and then held out pretty comfortably in the end, really, in that game. So we might see a similar story here, but it is half time. It is still 0-0, as we mentioned. But yeah, we're going to go on to the games for tomorrow. So we're going to go through the matches. I know a few of you have already been mentioning some of the matches tomorrow and on Sunday. So let's start with the big one of the weekend, really, isn't it? It's Bayern Munich going to the place that they see in their nightmares, basically. Borussia Park, the home of Borussia Mönchengladbach. A place where I think they've only won once in the last 7 visits. Correct me if I'm wrong. They don't like playing in that part of the world. But, I mean, let's be honest, there's probably not really a better time to go there, because Gladbach haven't been very good recently at all, especially in the last 2 performances when they played out a very uninspiring 0-0 draw against Schalke and then were battered away in the capital against Hertha last weekend. So, yeah, for me, there's never been a better time, really, for Bayern to go there. But for me, Gladbach, they do put the best performances in against the better teams. I've got to be honest. They do tend to raise the game. We've already seen them beat Dortmund at home this season and Leipzig as well. And obviously we saw them get that point in the Allianz, which was, let's be honest, really thanks to Jan Sommer. But still, they managed to get a
place for Bayern.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If you can't beat them, sign them, as they say. Yeah. So basically, yeah, I'm going to go for... I'm confident that we're going to have a Bundesliga title race this year, and therefore that means we've got to see Bayern Munich drop points in Borussia Park. And considering the fact that obviously I had that tough game against PSG in midweek, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, more in hope rather than expectation, to be honest with you. But I do believe that Gladbach can get another good result against the Bavarians on Saturday. What do you think, Peter?
I disagree strongly. I think, you know, what happened when Bayern visited Borussia Park, particularly that Pokal elimination last year, that's ancient history. That doesn't really play into the minds of the Bayern players. yeah, I'm sure that Upamecano has put it behind him. He had a horrible match that night. Just couldn't put a foot right. But I personally believe that Gladbach are on the verge of falling apart. The loss to Hertha Berlin last weekend just laid bare all of the problems that we've been talking about with this team. And as a matter of fact, Daniel Farke, he got quite combative at his press conference because people were pushing him about his tactics. They were pushing him about this team. As we were talking about on Tuesday in greater depth, this mid-market squad has lost too many players. There's too many players that are preparing to leave on freeze in the summer. There just isn't a coherent spirit around this club where everybody seems to be jumping ship. And the results since the turn of the calendar year have been horrible. They won 4-1 at Hoffenheim, but that's it. They've dropped everying else. I'm going to go for a 4-0 win for Bayern here.
Oh, yeah. Get your money on it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've been discussing it on Tuesday as well, so find out the results on Tuesday's show as well, of course. Yeah, moving on to the next game, another game between, we've talked a lot about them, but two company clubs as well, Wolfsburg versus RB Leipzig. Leipzig, I'm not going to say their season's in danger of falling apart, but failure to win here, I think that will be truly the end of their title challenge, really. And obviously with the game against Manchester City next midweek as well, it's a very, very big week for RB Leipzig. And to be honest, I know Nkunku's probably going to be back, but is he going to be fully fit to start? Is he going to be in his top form? Probably not. And I've just not liked what I've seen of RB Leipzig really since the Rückrunde started, really. I mean, I know they were good against Schalke, but that was the only game that they've really kind of shined in for me so far. I think they were lucky to beat Stuttgart a few weeks ago. And obviously the last two games they haven't won. So there is a lot of pressure on this game for Leipzig, and I actually think I've got a funny feeling that Wolfsburg are going to get the win here. I don't know why, but they played well in the last home game against Bayern, but then they were very poor against Schalke last week. So they're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team at the moment, Wolfsburg. But I think they will win the battle of the companies, Volkswagen versus Red Bull in this game, and I'm going to go for a Wolfsburg 2-1 win.
I'll disagree with you again. We're Fiscal and Ebert here trying to review kids' movies. I think that Wolfsburg are actually really struggling now. And when they're struggling, Kovac tries to do too much tactical tinkering. As we talked about on midweek, and as I talked about extensively in my last Bundesliga Tactics Talk column, Rosa himself is having some personnel selection issues. But I'm going to take Rosa over Kovac in this case. And the scoreline that I'm going to tip is a 2-0 Leipzig victory. By the way, company clubs would be Leverkusen and Wolfsburg. Red Bull is an Austrian company, so it's
Salzburg's finest.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, anyway, yeah, and a very interesting game as well between two traditional clubs as well, VfL Bochum versus SC Freiburg. This one, for me, again, most people will probably, people that don't follow the league that closely will probably say a comfortable away win here. But for me, it's not the way I'm going to go in this one. I think Freiburg have been poor away from home in the last two away games. They lost 6-0 at Wolfsburg and then 5-1 away in Dortmund. Although, let's be honest, they did have 10 men for pretty much all of that game. So you can't read too much into that one. But for me, VfL Bochum at home are a very, very strong side. They're scoring goals. They play really good press, attacking football. I can see them getting a win here to make a big statement to, make it more and more likely they're going to stay up based on the home form. I think they'll get a 2-1 win. I really do here. What do you think, Peter?
It's a very intriguing matchup, and it might serve as my tactical focus this week. I really haven't made my mind up yet. I might, Bayern Gladbach, I think, is going to be a blowout, so I might go with this one. Although Frankfurt Bremen, which we'll discuss momentarily, is also an intriguing one. Really don't know what to expect from this. I think that Bochum have been in strong form recently, particularly at home. They're coming off of that great performance against their Ruhr rivals, Dortmund, in the Pokal. But they're a team that doesn't always necessarily bring it. So I think Freiburg can stand toe-to-toe with them, even in the poor form that they are. I tip an exciting match here. I'll go for a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, and then the game that I'm going to be attending as well this weekend, guys. Yeah, Stuttgart versus Cologne. Doesn't look like the most entertaining game on paper, let's be honest, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting over there tomorrow to a Bundesliga game. But as for the prediction, to be honest, I do hope for goals, but I'm not expecting a lot of goals, to be honest, because Stuttgart have just been pretty dreadful the last two games, let's be honest, and they've been really, really poor. And I just think, obviously the loss of Guirassy has really kind of basically dried up their attack. I don't rate Pfeiffer up top. I think he's been really poor pretty much ever since he joined the club. He looks like a Zweite Liga player to me. And I just think Köln are the better side, but they're more of a home team. That's the thing with Köln. Away from home, they tend to play tight. They try more not to get beaten rather than to go out and win the game. That's my view, really, for them. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, but this is the kind of game that could even be 0-0, to be honest with you. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 there.
Okay. I hope you're right. I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing the matchday vlog. I think there's a lot of Zweite Bundesliga players on both squads here, which is why we're not going to be expecting a very high-scoring affair. Unfortunately for Stuttgart fans, unfortunately for Rory, I think that Köln are the better put-together side at this moment in time. They know their shape better. They know their system better. They know how to close down pretty much any opposing team's attack. That's why it's going to be a 1-0 victory for Köln.
Yeah, that was my second prediction too. I thought that's highly possible as well. I think definitely. Okay, so yeah, a really, really good game on Saturday evening, which unfortunately I wouldn't be able to catch because I'll probably be on the train back from Stuttgart from that one. But a really entertaining game between Frankfurt and Werder Bremen. A game that should have goals because, both sides like to score goals. They've not had problems scoring goals this season. But for me, again, this has got to be home advantage. I think Frankfurt are very, very strong at home, aren't they? They tend to beat most teams pretty easily at home, in truth, and they create bags of chances with that side. And I think probably there should be a lot of goals. I go for a 3-1, but it's the kind of game that could be like 4-2 or something like this, that one. But I'm going to go for at least a 2-goal win for Frankfurt at home in this one.
Well, we're all waiting to see. We're all waiting to see what Frankfurt do in response to that embarrassing 0-3 loss at Köln last weekend. And the problem with Frankfurt is that they have Champions League midweek, which means I think that Glasner is going to rotate in a lot of his weaker characters. You might see Makoto Hasebe start again in defense. You might see Jakic as part of the three-man chain. You'll probably see Roda and Sao in midfield, but it might be, it's Kamada. I don't think is going to start. He's just going to go with Lindstrom, Götze, Muani, and those three aren't in the greatest form at the moment. I liked what I saw from Bremen last week. As a matter of fact, against Dortmund, they just couldn't find the Dux and Füllkrug didn't have their finishing boots on that day. I think Bremen stands tall against them, and I think we get a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, okay. Good prediction. Okay. And then the Sunday games. Obviously, we got 3 Sunday matches this time because, obviously, of the Europa League. Union versus Schalke. I mean, this is two sides. 5 years ago, you would have thought this would have been the other way, and Schalke would have been the team in second and Union the team that's bottom, wouldn't you? But obviously, it's absolutely not that way. And Union Berlin are just providing miracles. I mean, they should have won in Ajax on Thursday. I mean, what a performance that was. They were the better side by quite a distance, I thought. And obviously, they did have the goal disallowed, but it's still a very good point. They're going to have a good chance of getting a massive scalp of the Dutch Giants there. Will it be next week? I think the second leg's next week, isn't it? So, but I mean, obviously, fixture overload could potentially be something that comes into play here because I think it's hard to know, though, because, I mean, this is a game that Union have to win if they want to get in the Champions League or even challenge for the title. They can't be dropping points against this Schalke side, but at the same time, they'll want to be fit and ready for Ajax on Thursday as well, which is a great chance to take a massive scalp for the club. But for me, the rotations work brilliantly for Union Berlin. That's been one of their big strengths the last 2 years, really. The rotation just works brilliantly. And even when they take some of those players out, the players that come in always do a job and the level doesn't drop, And I think their record actually after Europa League games is really, really good. I think after the group games, they won like 4 or 5 of the games that came on the Sunday straight after the Thursday. So for me, it is going to be a home win, this one. I don't think it'll be a masterclass from Union. They'll just want to get the 3 points in this one. And I'm going to go for still a 2-0 home win in this one for me.
I'll take it down 1 goal and say Union wins 1-0. It'll be a workmanlike performance. They'll get the job done, and they'll move on to other things. I hope we don't see another 0-0 draw involving Schalke, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
4 days in a row. But I'll admit that that's probably a possibility as well. I don't see this. I mean, look, the thing about Union, and I love this team. I write about them constantly. I promote them. Wonderfully managed club, wonderful story, all of this stuff. They don't often win in an exciting fashion because they don't have the most exciting, electrifying system. So it's 1-0 for me.
Yeah, a lot of their wins are like 1-0, 2-1 kind of thing, but that's all you need at the end of the day. You don't need to win 4-5-0, do you? Let's be honest. You need to just win the game, and that's the main thing. Okay, anyway, the next game on Sunday looks, let's be honest, like a bit of a one-sided match. Really, the form team of the Bundesliga, one of the form teams in Europe, Borussia Dortmund, who again got a brilliant result. Let's be honest, a little bit lucky to beat Chelsea in midweek, but still, it proves how far they've come. Really, that they can keep clean sheets against teams that spend 400 million euros in one transfer window. So let's be honest, it was still a very good performance. I did expect to see them have more chances in that game, to be honest, but they got the 1-0 and they've got a great chance to go into the last 8 of the Champions League and obviously attack on 2 fronts, really, or even 3 fronts, because obviously the Bundesliga is probably going to be their main target this season. And for me, this is a home banker if there ever was one. I think they could probably make rotations and still win this game easily. I wouldn't read too much into Hertha's 4-1 win last week because it was against a Gladbach side who were just really poor, in my opinion. Although, let's give them some respect. They were pretty good last week, Hertha, but this is a different kettle of fish, and I'm going to go for a 4-1 home win here for me.
I don't think it'll be that high. I think Dortmund gets the job done. Hertha do have some momentum. They in that new 3-5-2, they're particularly the work that Sejerzi does in midfield. That'll carry them far. Dortmund are starting to show some weaknesses. They did against Bremen. Edin Terzic's 4-1-4-1 run by Emre Can is getting a little bit stale. Might be possible that Terzic lines the boys up in a 3-back set this time around to sort of mirror and take out Hertha. I'm going to say that Dortmund win 2-0.
Okay, routine home win. And then the final game is quite an interesting one, really. Bayer Leverkusen versus Mainz. I mean, Leverkusen are just so frustrating sometimes from a perspective. I mean, they were so good at times against Monaco the other day, but 2 of the goals that they conceded were just a joke, basically, weren't they? And this is the problem with Leverkusen. That defense is just absolutely woeful year after year these days, isn't it? And it kind of undermines the fantastic attacking play from the likes of Wirtz, Diaby, and the like Schick when he's fit. It's just so frustrating that they lost that game that they should have won. Let's be honest, really. They should have won that game and they ended up losing it. And now they're probably going to go out of the Europa League too. But anyway, this is a game, Mainz going very, very nicely. They're miles away from the bottom 3. They play very well, particularly at home. They're another side a bit like Augsburg, actually. Oh, just saying that Augsburg have scored. Just saying that Augsburg have got the goal. It smacked the aluminium, but then it came out very, very generously for Demirovic, who tucked away the rebound.
Horrible.
It's that Demirovic who's got the
horrible
goal.
defending from everybody in that back 3. Vogt, Brooks,
dreadful. Yeah.
And Kabak are all culpable in that. Yeah. And that's going to undo them. I mean, now the back 3 has absolutely no confidence. I'll finish up. We'll talk about there's been a tactical change for Matarazzo as well at the half. In terms of Mainz Leverkusen, Diaby is a confirmed out for Sunday, which may not be a problem. Frimpong can still play up there on all the way up there on the right wing. But I like Mainz. I think that Leverkusen are not set tactically with what Xabi Alonso is doing. And I'm going to tip Mainz for a 2-1 victory upset there.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a score draw in this one. But to be honest, my initial thought was a win for Mainz as well. But I think it will be a score draw, this one here. Actually, just checking that they're going to the board again here. Geez, I always say that Augsburg seem to get done over by a few decisions. For me, this is never a foul in a million years.
I hope we're not talking about the officiating at the end of the week. It's always so frustrating when the officiating takes.
For me, this is never a foul. I mean, it's just they're looking at it from like a kind of stray kick, but it's never a foul. Surely not.
No, he's just trying to keep his balance. I mean, what else could he do?
He's given a foul. That's just absolutely terrible. I'm sorry, but
are they going to waive it off?
That's a really poor decision. He's disallowed the goal. Yeah, for that. For me, that's just an absolute joke as far as I'm concerned. It's never a foul, that one, Peter.
Well, guess who's going to be writing about it for Bully News? I'm sure that, the Augsburg crew, the ever vocal Reuter and Maassen are going to have their protests about this, and they're going to have legitimate protests about this.
Yeah. That's a joke, that is, really. I'm sorry.
What is he supposed to do? He's on one foot. He's trying to regain his balance.
Yeah.
What do you want him to pirouette like a freaking ballet dancer?
Yeah.
What the?
I mean, I'm sorry, but I always say, to be honest, if any Augsburg fans are watching this, I can totally sympathise with you because I think Augsburg get done over more than any team in the Bundesliga, really. And I think I mentioned that last time, but that is never, ever in a million years a disallowed goal. I'm sorry, but he's given it for the foul, and all he's done it. I mean, the Hoffenheim guy has gone down like he's been shot. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. That's one of the worst disallowed decisions I've seen in a long time, Peter.
Yeah, well, this is going to be – I'll be writing about it, I'm sure. And we'll be talking about it in our Monday morning football circles across the Bundesrepublik. I wish I were there. I wish I could participate in those. Yeah. But it's going to be a huge talking point come Monday morning because I don't care – well, I mean, we had this problem last week where Bruno Labbadia was complaining that VAR exists to overturn egregious decisions. But what VAR is doing now is it's calling the refs back and having them take another look at calls that they made on the field, which, perhaps should be allowed to stand because, after all, football remains something of a subjective game.
I can't believe he's disallowed this, really. I'm sorry, but the referee needs to be fired for this decision as far as I'm concerned. Really. He needs to be dropped after, because I just think that I can't believe I'm just looking at it that the defender has gone down like he's been shot and he hadn't even been touched. Do you know what I mean?
Well, refs are graded by both the German press and the league itself. And Patrick Ittrich will probably get a 6,0, which translates to an F in the German press, for doing this. He'll get failing marks, and DFB will be put under pressure with this, particularly the VAR team in the Kölner Keller. They're going to be put under massive pressure for this because they're going to have to answer for this. They're going to have to answer for why was Ittrich compelled to take another look at this.
Yeah.
And we'll get an explanation after the match. I'm sure I'll be writing about it there on Bully News before I maybe take in a Mardi Gras parade or two. And then we'll get some sort of an explanation. But unfortunately, like the goal that was disallowed for Leipzig and Union last Saturday evening, the Werner's offside position because Laiduni inadvertently cleared the ball. Yeah, it's the wrong call. If you think about
this one's even worse though for me. This one is I can't even tell you guys really. If you're watching this, Augsburg have been absolutely done over really with that one. Well and truly. I mean, at the end of the day, we can talk about the referee being disciplined, but it's not going to get Augsburg the 2 or 3 points back from this match, is it? Do you know what I mean? So, they might still go on to win it, but it's still very, very frustrating for them and their fans.
Yeah. Well, they should be expected to take apart a team that's as disorganized at the back as Hoffenheim are. So they will have themselves to blame to a certain extent if they can't get the 3 points here, because football is a 90-minute game. Yeah. And, refereeing decisions, you're going to get bad calls. It's just sort of the nature of it was the nature of the game before VAR, and it is the nature of the game with VAR as well. Yeah. There are always going to be poor decisions.
Yeah. And now Vogt on the bench, he's going absolutely crazy. He's the man who basically bought that free kick. So he's also got to be blamed. Let's be honest. Let's not only blame the ref. He's also got to take some blame for this because he milked the foul, didn't he, Peter? Really?
He did.
And now he can't get back on the pitch. What's happening here? He's absolutely furious about something. What's actually happened here? Like, has he been not allowed back on the pitch or what?
I think he might have been subbed off for Bikakic. Oh Lord, yes, I've gotten a better view of Kevin Vogt's tattoos than any man would have to. Perhaps he can furnish an explanation for us and tattoo that on his. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he deserves blame too because he's milked it. I mean, I know people could say the players need to do what they can for the team, but that went overboard. That was cheating as far as I'm concerned to try and milk such a soft foul like that into being something more than what it was.
Well, I mean, we're at the point in this game where nobody's match plan is functioning as it should, and all sorts of stuff is, and tensions are running high, emotions are running high after that disallowed goal.
Yeah.
So Bikakic was about to get off the pitch anyway for Vogt, and let's see. I mean, he was officially booked for it as well, but.
Jeez, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a red card. That's my prediction for the next 20 minutes or so. I mean, Augsburg have got to be careful because we mentioned they've got a few hot heads in that team, and they're rightfully annoyed. But what they can't afford to do is get a red card now, because I think if they continue the way they've started the second half, they will still win the game, because Hoffenheim look all over the place, don't they? I mean, it's just about getting that final ball right for the home side, because they've not done that well enough at times tonight. They were even just there. They wasted another good chance there, Peter.
If I'm reading the shape properly, and I do have a pretty good view here through the US telecast, they do sort of an overhead thing. I think that Hoffenheim have reverted, because Dolberg was taken off in favor of Fisnik Aslani, little Kosovar kid who came up through the youth system. No relation to the famous Swedish women's footballer, Kosovar Aslani. That's kind of weird. We have an Aslani and we have an Ibrahimovic in the Bundesliga now.
Yeah.
Arjan Ibrahimovic, who plays for Bayern, and none of them are neither one are related to the great Swedes. We just have a couple of Kosovars with the same last name as the Swedish team national players. But I think what he's doing now, what Matarazzo is doing, is trying it still looks like a back three, but it's probably a 3-4-1-2 maybe. So, and this is not working well at all.
It's not at all. The second half has been a disaster, and I can't even tell you guys how lucky they are still to be level in this game. But that could be the kind of luck that they need. You know what I mean? Because
maybe in the long term, but I mean, the Hoffenheim build-up play is now in total disarray. Augsburg probably have upwards of 80% possession in the 10 minutes since the restart here. They just need to calm down, get the build going here, pass around this wide Hoffenheim shape that's not pressing the ball very strongly, and get the ball in the back of the net, which you have to do at this level. I don't care if tensions and emotions are running high. I don't care if the adrenaline spike is making your legs move a little bit heavy and you're prone to some heavy touches. Calm down, settle down, finish this game out. And
that's probably what the kind of thing that Augsburg are lacking, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, to them, they'll probably feel as though they should have had the goal, and they don't always find it that easy to find the bag of onions, so to speak, do they? It's like, but it is frustrating for them now. But they do, in all fairness, they do look to have calmed down a little bit now. A few calm heads, the likes of Yeboah, who was the one who was actually the hardest done to of everyone. Basically, he looks quite calm. But this is going to be an interesting last 35-40 minutes, because for me, this becomes like quite a big game now for both sides, because if Augsburg lose this, they're going to be beyond fuming,
Yeah, I mean, what you need now are a couple of slow-rolled bills, some calm bow arcs out of the back. Let's let these fullbacks cycle through the center backs, take advantage of the Hoffenheim weak press. Don't get antsy. Stop with these hit and hope vertical upfield chucks that I'm seeing now from Rexbegai, that I'm seeing from Vega, that I'm seeing. I mean, this is you have to do better with your attack. You have to be calmer with your approach play. You have to let it cycle through a little bit and then find the openings. What they're doing right now is they're trying to get upfield just a little bit too fast.
Yeah.
I'm on this Engels free kick. You're ahead of me, so
this is a chance now. But he's not been very good with the free kicks so far today. But this one's better. It's and now he's gone down. Oh God! Like the Augsburg man, I think it was Demirovic, has gone down in a heap. It was never a penalty anyway. But clearly this is going to come into the game now, because now Demirovic seems to be he's stayed down. And now they're probably going to look for a VAR now again, aren't they? I would imagine.
The VAR team will check it. I doubt if they're going to call Ittrich over to take another look at it, because I don't see where the contact was. I didn't even see the foul. I mean, I'll take a look at the replay here. And the VAR team is in contact with him via the headset. But, I mean, I got to look at the replay.
There was a bit of a flick from Delaney's hand, but sure, it would be a soft penalty, but maybe they have to give it after that foul was given against...
That's an
what do you
interesting
think on this one?
I don't see Delaney's elbow making contact with him. I don't. I mean, of course,
it's just soft. It's it's similar kind of contact to the incident, but I think it's been waved away anyway by the look of it. Has it?
Yeah.
Marson once again is furious.
Well,
has it been waved away? I'll be honest with you, the refereeing team hasn't really had a very good control over this match at times, and I don't know, is he going over to look at the board now? It just seems very, very unclear what's happening at the time with the refereeing in this match.
I mean, that looks...
He's going to book the Augsburg coach by the look of it.
Yeah, he might even want to book Demirovic for simulation. Maybe that's what that's what he's having a look at. Because he's definitely... There's an assistant coach, Well, what happens now is that the fourth official... the one in charge of the board, he hears everything that goes on the bench, right? Yeah. So if a assistant coach gets up from the bench and says, what the shit was that? Throw this guy out of the game. The fourth official will immediately report that to the referee. Yeah, you can see the assistant coach gets up, complains to the fourth official, screaming elbow, 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 elbow. Yeah. The fourth official, that system, doesn't that remind you of like kindergarten a little bit?
It is.
Where it's like, Daddy or teacher.
It is. Tensions are just getting too high now, really. It's just, but I know what you mean. That was never a penalty either. That Hoffenheim would have been done if that was given as a penalty as well. Do you know what I mean? But this time the right decision was come to in the end. But I would like a bit more clarity and a bit more confidence shown from this referee at times, because he doesn't look to have that much control over the match to me, Peter, at the moment.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one for him, considering that these two teams are not playing football at the moment, despite the fact that Hoffenheim are giving Augsburg a clear invitation to do so. And I think that's something that they can only, as we see, a giveaway here. That is crossing from Katarabek. Rebound falls to Tahomchu, blocked. Bebu back to Homshu into the cheap seats.
I've got a corner out of this, and we are going to see Andrej Kramaric come on as well, who has probably had his worst season in a Hoffenheim shirt, let's be honest, but he is the kind of player that can provide that quality. The corner comes in, which is the first ball is defended and the second ball as well, but it's not cleared out of the area, although a terrible pass there, almost ended up going straight out of play from the Hoffenheim man, but it is retrieved and the ball comes in. But it's a poor ball again, and it's gone out for a goal kick. There's just no quality in this match at the moment at all. It's getting a little bit frustrating at times. As you say, I mean, Augsburg they need to be winning this game, and all they need is a bit of composure, and this Hoffenheim defense will just fall apart. But they're not providing that at the moment, are they, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say, really. I mean, the solution is simple. Slow road builds, bow arc it a little bit, just get control of the match and wait and look for those openings. You got three Hoffenheim players pushing up. That's why he goes ahead and with the long launch there. But they have an excellent opportunity to take calmer control of this match and find the gaps in the Hoffenheim defense, which are myriad, which are numerous. Okay, this 4-1-3-2 is providing lanes all over the place. If they just show a little bit of patience and let their colleagues, their teammates get into position, Then we'll see things. Okay, so it's going to be Bischoff and Kramaric coming on. Bischoff, another young gun who recently got promoted from the academy. Bebu coming off. That's your biggest goal-scoring threat. Okay, so Matarazzo wants to give Kramaric a run out. He has had a terrible season. He actually has looked piss poor since he signed that contract extension late last year. He's probably thinking to himself, "My God, I had the opportunity to play just about anywhere in Europe, and I'm stuck in Sinsheim and not playing."
He was linked with a lot of. I think even Dortmund were linked with him a year or two
ago.
Yeah,
he was quite the hot commodity. Not so much anymore. Now you can't give him away. But I don't know what to think about these substitutions from Matarazzo. At this point, I would bring on Munis Dabour. You need a goal-scoring threat. You need a proven goal-scoring threat off the bench. Why are you introducing Kramaric instead of Dabour? And why are you yanking Bebu? You've already yanked Dolberg. So at any given point, you're only running with one striker. Maybe he just would consider a 0-0 draw something of a victory here. It's entirely possible.
I guess he's probably like, obviously as a new coach, maybe he's hoping that he can get some spark from Kramaric, because obviously he's a player that scored goals for fun in the Bundesliga and assisted as well. But as I mentioned, this year, it's not only been his lack of goals, but the performances have been woeful at times from him, just wasteful. But it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in this game.
It got to the point where neither Hoeneß or Breitenreiter were using him as a straight forward anymore. I mean, they were using him as either a buttressing attacker, sometimes even out on the wings. I mean, they just didn't have confidence in his finishing ability in the box central to put him as a center forward. Let's see if he's playing as a center forward here even. Kind of looks like it. I mean, he's operating pretty deep, but as most good strikers need to do. We'll have to see Hoffenheim put together a decent attacking sortie here.
Yeah. Great play from Vega. I've got to say, Vega has been the man of the match for me, no question. I think he's been really good, and he actually ends up winning a really poor foul, actually, by Karabarek, I think it was, on him. But he actually stayed up and continued to run, but he still pulled it back for a foul and a yellow card for
probably that long switch over in Karajabek's direction is probably the most creative thing we've seen from Hoffenheim on the charge all night.
Yeah.
So, and an excellent job by Vega there, shutting it down. The kid's shutting down a veteran, Karajabek. He should know what he's doing. Yeah. Looks to me to be the case that Kramaric is, he's probably a lone forward now. I mean, you don't have another forward on the pitch, so who else could it possibly be? Yeah. All right, maybe Matarazzo is banking on him, poaching a goal on the counter here. Yeah. But I haven't seen a Hoffenheim counter.
That's the problem. To be honest, I actually think Matarazzo might be happy with a draw, to be honest with you. I know it's not the right attitude, but it wouldn't, on the balance of things, as far as survival is concerned, it wouldn't be a bad point. You know what I mean? Because, especially considering what's happened in the match, he will understand that they've got lucky there. There's no question. But it's not really the right attitude because, Hoffenheim, they should have ambitions more than just staying up, shouldn't they? Let's be honest. But I agree that Dabour, I would like to have seen Dabour because he is a player that can be good as a joker off the bench. Yeah. But, obviously the new manager didn't fancy him. I could sort of understand why he's brought Kramaric on because, almost a terrible back pass by Gikiewicz. He gets really lucky, actually. It kind of goes in between the two strikers there. That was almost a great chance for Kramaric to actually get a shot goal there, but it wasn't to be. Yeboah again. Yeboah has impressed me as well at times. Some great play from him to get beyond two defenders, and he plays a good ball to a chance here. And it's over the bar, though, from Berisha, who hasn't had his best game tonight. I'll be honest with you, Berisha.
Yeah, I don't. It didn't surprise me to see Yeboah get the starting nod over Bejo in this one. At this point, Bejo probably should be introduced because Berisha's on a card, and
he's been poor tonight. It's not been his best day at all. He's been so wasteful.
Freshen up your attacking ranks. It's one of the things that makes Urs Fischer so successful. Is that he always carries 4 natural strikers on his roster. And typically late in the game, he refreshes the 3-5-2, just like he did against Leipzig in that big win last week, taking off Kevin Behrens and Geraldo Becker at the same time for Jordan Pifok and Sven Michel. So, yeah, it's funny. I was cursing Xabi Alonso's personnel management last time we got together for Augsburg here. I think that Matarazzo has made a lot of curious calls and decisions here. And okay, here's Yeboah with a block. Yeah, he dug a corner out of it off of Delaney there.
The last two attacks have been better, though. They've been a bit more patient and good play from Yeboah both times. We need a good corner, though. The corners haven't been as good today. That's been another problem from Augsburg. It's a big source of their goals, and they've had 3 or 4, and they've all been poor. So another one comes in here. It looks better. Ooh, it's just about cleared out to Vega, who hits it. Jeez, it's so scrappy at times, this match, really. That was like a miss hit, and it kind of had to be parried away by Baumann in the end. It is a bit of a scrappy one, this, isn't it, Peter? But a bit better from Augsburg the last 2 or 3 minutes. The last few attacks have been better. But, I mean, they need that goal. I do believe that Augsburg, if they don't win this game, it would be a really poor result for them, even a point here, Peter.
Yeah, I would really like to see Bejo come on right now. He's also better on set pieces. He's part of Maasen's basic package. He's grabbed a goal already off of a corner, I believe. So it might be the case that Maasen's just so locked into this match and the 11 that he has on the field right now. And now that he's seen them finally wrest some control of this match, find the attacking lanes. They have gone through Brooks's side to great success on the last 2 charges. He just wants to see this 11 on the field.
Actually, a good attack here from Hoffenheim, though. Oh, it's easy. Again, a terrible ball in from Karabarek, but again, Vega, for me, there's no doubt. Him and Yeboah have been probably the only 2 players I've been overly impressed with tonight from either side, really. But again, good defending again by Vega to kind of deflect Karabarek's cross in. Again, it was a poor cross, so he had loads of time and he should have been able to find his man really there. Okay.
I'm watching Augsburg do a little bit of the slower build. I mean, I'm down with Gikovic's decision there not to quick start a counter. Let's keep this calm. Let's go down Brooks' side yet again. Okay, there's Brooks charging forward and winning a header quite nicely, as a matter of fact.
What time are you on there, Peter?
I'm in the 70th minute, 69:32. So
okay, again, there's only about 12 seconds.
About 10, 12 seconds.
Yeah. We've closed down about 8 seconds. Since
that works out well. You can lead the description, and if you miss something, I'm right there.
Yeah. But it does look to be Yeboah who's the most dangerous man, so from an attacking sense.
Yeah, you don't want to take him off. I mean, that's probably another reason why Maasen is stuck with this 11, because Yeboah is performing really well, and Berisha is, he's drawing some coverage, so you don't want to shake things up too much.
He probably thinks that Berisha's the kind of player that can just get a goal from nothing, which I can understand that. Although Hoffenheim are breaking here through that man, Kramarchu, awful again. He's lost the ball. And he's won the ball back. I was just going to credit Vega, but he's ended up losing it again now inside his own half after winning it back. Yeah. Oh, but a dreadful, dreadful crossfield ball is totally missed by Karabarek. And TSG, I'd love to see what their XG is in this game. I'd be surprised if it's more than 0.3, to be honest with you. It's been
0.2 at the half. I would say it's probably up to 0.4 or 0.5 at this point, because they have gotten some penetration.
Yeah, a little bit, but
yeah.
I think Augsburg must be a little bit high, but the thing is, obviously, they have had the ball in the net twice, and they've both been disallowed. So I guess that probably affects their XG a little bit. I will check the XG on the Bundesliga side. Just give me a second on that.
Oh, do they have live stat? They do it live stat wise?
Yeah, geez, it's 0.53 for Augsburg and 0.32 for Hoffenheim.
Well, that might get adjusted, because if they give you after they give you the live stats, and even the ones that flash up on the screen,
it's not always accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, because they take another look at the plot points is what they do. They take another look to see if, even if a player wasn't necessarily in a shooting position on the plot point, it might be the case that, he could have passed to somebody else who was open, something like this. So it's
a very complicated system, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, It's
But it's
worthwhile.
good. I like it to look at.
I absolutely, yeah. I'm in favor of it as well. I think that it's important. It doesn't always tell the story of every match.
I think penalties obviously influence it a lot as well. If a team gets a penalty, I think that adds like 0.75 to the
0.75,
XG.
exactly. Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing that you have to keep in mind when you're talking about XG stats is the penalties. Because that's good for 75%.
Yeah.
In any case,
that's what they work it out. They work it out the percentage of chance. And now I think Augsburg have won themselves a soft free kick, which is going to be a great chance for Berisha to put a ball in. They seem to be playing quite fast, Augsburg. They seem to realize that they need to win this game. And it is a decent position for a free kick to come in now. It was, I think he kind of went for the shot, which was well defended, but it's a corner now. Kramaric actually defended that on the near post. And they've got a corner now in front of the Augsburg Ultras. I still feel as though there's a goal in this for Augsburg. Yeah, I'm still going to go for a 1. I think it'll be 1-0 to either side. This is the kind of game that we could even see the TSG get a massive shock win if Augsburg make one mistake in the defense.
Yeah, they have to close this out. And I mean, the strategy of slow rolling it, we're running out of time for that. And Massimo will have to make some changes of some sort. Although it's difficult to say where. I mean, you could yank Berisha for Bayo. I don't know what else you could do off of the bench. Maybe Jensen over Meyer on the wing. I think
it looks like the subs are just coming actually now, but I couldn't see who. Jensen could potentially come on. He is a player that did well in the last time.
All right. So as we were joking around last week and we were doing Augsburg pronunciations and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Whenever Jensen, the Finn, misses a chance, you know what joke you have to employ, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Go on.
Anytime a Finn misses a chance, you could just have to say he's not Finnish.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah, you got that one.
a little lame.
Yeah.
A little overdone, but I insist upon using that joke.
I was slow to that one a little bit then. Got to say though, some of Gikovic's ball play hasn't been up to its usual standard today. I think he's been quite poor on the ball. He's not had really anything to do as a goalkeeping in terms of saves, but some of his distribution hasn't. He's usually quite a good. He's a goalkeeper that I do rate, but today hasn't been his best distribution performance for me. He's played 3 or 4 poor passes that have gone straight out into touch so far in this match. But I think we are going to see the subs come, because one of the Augsburg players has gone down in the middle of the pitch. I can't see who it is quite. I think it could be Rexby. Yeah, so I guess he's going to go off. He looks though he could have picked up some cramp or something like that. By the look of it.
This is turning into one of those matches where on the German broadcaster DAZN, as we were actually talking about before we went live, Sandro Wagner usually does like the color commentary for DAZN on Friday nights. This may end up being one of those matches where he's the man of the match.
Yeah, it could quite easily. And Yeboah is going off. Demirovic and Yeboah are departing actually, and I think Rexby as well is going off.
And
I think Jensen is definitely going to be one of the players that comes on. Yeah, Jensen's on for Yeboah. Also Bayo's on as well, and Iago is on. So they're the 3 changes. So.
Yeah, it's a triple change.
Yeah, I guess it's quite understandable, really. It's expected we'd have seen Bayo at some point. And also Jensen is a player that can provide quality in short bursts as well, isn't he?
Well, Jensen he's going to stay in that 4-4-2 system. You can see that. Who was the third player off?
It was Rexby, Demirovic, and Yeboah all departed.
Okay. Well, then you do have an extra defender on there in Iago, because Iago is ordinarily a fullback. Let's see how this settles.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe he goes for a 5-2-3 spread at this point, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea. Okay, I got Jensen. Looks like Jensen tracking like in midfield. Whereas finding out where Iago is the key to figuring out this puzzle. So I gotta see where he is. Right now we're just stoppages, throw-ins. Okay, so we do have sort of a back 3 spread, which is one way that you can get around Hoffenheim without necessarily having a fast build. Vega. Is that Vega in mid? No, Vega's departed. Has he? Or
No, that was Vega. Yeah, that was Vega, but it's a
okay, wait,
terrible
so wait a
effort.
Vega's,
Yeah, we've just seen
Vega's,
the worst effort of the match, and that's saying a lot in this game. We're going to see
okay.
another sub for Hoffenheim as well as it's going to be
Kevin
Kadabarek is departing, and I think it's going to be Akpogoma in a like-for-like switch there. That's
the
definitely going to be a
like-for-like,
like-for-like switch at right.
the German Nigerian. Oh, actually, so with what's happened now is Vega's moved into midfield, and they're still in the 4-4-2.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So he's moved to replace Vega.
Yeah. Okay. So Vega's moved in to replace Rexbergai in midfield.
I'm not sure about that one though, because I think Iago is prone to a mistake. In fact, he should have looked like a free kick to me on him. And Vega had, I mean, he was brilliant defensively today for me. And obviously, he is a player that's quite skillful and can provide quality in midfield as well. But I'm not. Yeah. What do you think about that one? Are you a bit surprised, or do you think it's a good change, that one?
It's good enough. Iago's a quality fullback, and Vega has shown us plenty of things. It's time for Vega to show us if he can do something in midfield. He better show us something other than that horrible effort from about 30 meters out.
Yeah, not the best way to be introduced.
Yeah, exactly. So he can do a lot better than that. But
some better play from Hoffenheim there though as well in the midfield. One of the few times they played a little bit of football in this match, and they played out wide. Oh, it's easily defended though. Again, Angelino's cross is really, really poor. Easily defended. And now a free kick is won. What have you made of Angelino actually? Because obviously he was a big marquee signing for the Sinsheimers, wasn't he, in summer? But he's not really done it, has he? In most cases,
I think he has 7 assists, league assists.
Does he really? So he's not done so badly then.
No, he's not done as badly as people think. I think that given the sort of the blockbuster nature of the swap with David Raum moving to Leipzig and Angelino coming to Hoffenheim, the El Plastico swap there that we had. People expected a lot more from both of those players. Raum is currently battling for his place in the Leipzig starting 11.
Yeah,
Angelino has 7 assists, but it's still not the production numbers that you would expect from him. Incidentally, Raum is a permanent member of Leipzig now, while Angelino is only over in Hoffenheim on loan.
Yeah.
So there we go. There's a halfway decent clearance from Brooks.
Great play from Iago as well to get the ball right up the pitch. It's a really good challenge from Kabak in the end to stop him, but it's going to be one of those long throws that comes in for Augsburg.
Yeah. Well, who doesn't love a good long throw? So he's quietly put together a halfway decent campaign. Of course, he's not the same impact player that he was at Leipzig, and Raum is not the same impact player that he was at Hoffenheim. And sometimes people accidentally conflate the two, and they assume that Angelino is having a terrible season, which is not. Just not one, not as good as one expected. You see what we've got going.
Bit of a breakaway for Hoffenheim. Oh, but he's overrun it. I can't believe it. Really, like that's just Hoffenheim's season in one nutshell. They had a 3 against 4 there with but Kramaric has just overrun it straight out of play, and they've not even managed to get a pass into a decent position or a shot or anything there. Yeah, I think that one, Peter, just sums up Hoffenheim's season, or at least the last 10 games or so, doesn't it?
It just shows you. In terms of the confidence levels of Hoffenheim, I don't think we've seen even a tick of improvement this evening. Yeah. I think that, Matarazzo, he needs to start putting his stamp on this team. And all of his personnel decisions, all of his substitutions are questionable here. I mean, Aslani and Bischoff, these are players that I expect a lot from in the future, but they're not on this level yet. And you have Dabur on the bench. You have Mr. Hoffenheim, Sebastian Rudy. Okay, he's well past his prime at this point. I guess that's it, really. I mean, he did bring on Akpoguma, and Soki has just been total junk this year, so he doesn't really need to be on the pitch at all. Yeah. Well,
where's Geiger? Is Geiger suspended this evening? Or?
Yes, he is. On yellow.
He's irregular, really, in that midfield, isn't he? But he's also, for me, had a poor season. A player that I've always rated him as well.
Yeah.
Oh, The first chance for Hoffenheim, it's a really good save in the end from Giekewitz. Did you see that one, Peter? It's that man Kramaric who almost got a famous winner there. Yeah, it was a decent shot led off, and it wasn't an amazing save, but it was a save that he had to make, you know. It was actually a really, really good play from who was it there actually who got the ball in?
It's Bischoff who
Bischoff, yeah. It was good play from him who finally found his man, actually. I think pretty much the first time this evening that a cross from wide has found his man. And certainly in the second half anyway. And it was a decent effort from Kramaric, but it was I wouldn't say an easy save, but it's a save he should have been making, wasn't it, from Giekewitz?
The cutback was great. The finish, okay, he went first time there. Why not? He didn't stand to gain anything by taking a touch. And then Giekewitz, what he truly did well there was hold the ball with Angelino lurking. Because I mean, if he had given up a rebound, that would have been Angelino crashing in for the goal. So an excellent job of holding that. And he couldn't hold it initially. I mean, there was enough pop, there was enough sting on that shot that it wasn't something that he was going to be able to collect right away.
I'm going to be honest, though. I'm not sure whether the Augsburg changes have worked here at all. I think Hoffenheim are looking more dangerous now. I think the Vega was better at fullback for me, definitely. He's already played a few poor passes, and Iago doesn't look quite so tight there, does he, in that left-back role compared to what Vega did to me.
Well, they're sending Iago forward. I mean, they're definitely sending Iago forward in order to get the match winner, which is the correct call. That, of course, leaves them a little bit vulnerable on what is Bischoff's side here. Bischoff operating on the half right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they're taking a chance. They're taking a risk. Can't really fault them for that.
Yeah.
You have to try and get a winner here because a 0-0 draw is, we talk a lot about how good Augsburg are, how good the roster is, how good a trainer Enrico Maaßen is. They still could get into the relegation discussion if they don't start, they need to pick up more 3-pointers here. I mean, they lost last week. They should be expected to win here against a team that's in total disarray. You have to get the 3 points here if you want to get out of the relegation discussion.
Yeah, I think a win today would really have made them very, very clear, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. But failure to win here, I mean, you could say it's still a point gain potentially, but I mean, it's not very inspiring, is it? Let's be honest, to draw against this side. I mean, again, they'll argue if they don't win the game, they'll argue that they had won the game, but the referee decided that they hadn't. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm sure Enrico Maaßen and the boys will say after the game.
That's the best thing that XG actually does for our game, is that the XG stats should tell you how well the team performed and how well they finished. And you can whine about the officiating all you like afterwards and say, we didn't get this call. And no argument. It was a horrible call. But, you still football. This is what VAR brings some more horrible calls into discussion. But guys like you and I have been following the game for decades. I mean, we remember that the refereeing was always a discussion, and there was bad calls in every match, and that's something that happens. That's why it's a 90-minute a game. That's why it's an endurance test. I mean, unfortunately, with the 5 substitute rule now being a regular fixture, it's not as much of an endurance test as it used to be. But I mean, you have the time. You always have the time. You have the time to win a match, irrespective of how many bad calls you get, if you keep at it. And they're not showing enough quality, not down the lanes, not good enough for 3 points here.
Yeah, I would agree, to be honest. They have been the better side, there's no doubt about that, but it's more been to do with like Hoffenheim being poor rather than Augsburg playing particularly well in this one. But I mean, there's still another 4 minutes to go. But I would actually say the TSG at Hoffenheim are looking a little bit more lively at the moment. And that's not saying a lot, let's be honest. But I would say that, that Kramaric has actually had a decent game. Bischoff has looked like he has quality as well. But obviously a lot of that is to do with the fact that Augsburg do realise they want to win this game, and some good play there to get the ball into midfield. But again, it's too slow in the midfield. They have taken Vega off, by the way. I think Enrico Maaßen realised that midfield isn't his best position after all. And a good ball there. Oh, it's another terrible. Jeez, yeah, some real calamity cuts there in terms of the attacking and defending. Almost, I think it was Bayer who had the best chance, and there wasn't a shot led off in the end by Augsburg. They should have managed to get a shot off there, Peter, really.
Yeah, I think Vega's still on. Or no, he did take
He
Vega.
just went about 1 minute ago.
Okay.
Baumgartlinger, actually.
Julian Baumgartlinger, the Austrian, the former Leverkusen man.
He's a kind of cult hero, really, and he played for Leverkusen for quite a while, didn't he? Although a really good ball there from Augsburg. And a header, good defending in the end, actually, I think, by Delaney, actually, there. A little bit more quality there played in. A really good diagonal, one of a few good diagonals that have been played in this match. Created a bit of space, and the ball came in, but it was well defended. Now we're going to have one of those trademark corners come in. And the Augsburg fans sense something here. Any goal here would surely be a winner with almost 88 minutes on the clock.
I believe they're going to score here.
Yeah, you're going to go for a goal, yeah?
I think so.
The ball comes in. And you're right. It's in. It is. The bag of onions has been found. Incredible. Surely there's got to be a VAR call on this one.
No, don't disallow it. Please don't.
It could be, though. There could be an offside potentially on the...
Come on, don't take it away from the
tapped it in. It looked like the initial header was just... Pellegrino is already looking there. He fancied the third... Are they celebrating it, though? They don't seem...
Don't disallow it. No, come on.
He's miles onside. He was miles onside. It's an easy goal, yeah. It was a great flick on. The initial flick on was going wide, and it was actually just about tapped in by my man, actually, I think it was, wasn't it? Mr. Impossible to pronounce his name, guy from Holland. Oh, no, was it Jensen, actually, who got to it?
Yes, Jensen.
It was Jensen, the man,
Who flicked it on?
It kind of came, I think it was Bayo. It kind of came off his back, didn't
Absolutely.
it? And then it was just bundled in. It was bundled in. Marston's on the pitch. Marston's halfway in the middle of the pitch after that goal.
All right. That's the way we finish it off. Now, what do you say now that Frederik Jensen has scored a goal?
He can finish.
That's right.
Boy can finish.
Very finish.
Great pun, that one, yeah. But the goal has been found. We have our first goal, and it's, I think, 88, 89 minutes that goal will go down.
And it's a deserved one. I would have been horribly upset if they didn't take 3 points off of this match because they were the better team, and
you tipped it as well. You tipped that corner. You were so confident that corner was going to lead to a goal.
I felt like it was just they had supplied so many crap corners that they were going to dig deep into the playbook there. And I don't know if that was part of the plan to get Bayo all the way up there and flick it on off his back. That couldn't have been premeditated. That probably wasn't the plan. But the part of the playbook thing probably had Bayo going up there and meeting a tight corner. So it was a good call. I mean, we had seen nothing but crap from the flag from Mawson all match long. Perhaps I figured he would dig deep and find something good out of the playbook there, and
that was basically his first good corner, and it was a really good corner as well. But it was always going to be the case, because they can't defend set plays Hoffenheim at all, and we all knew that if one really good ball,
I mean they're that's what's so flummoxing about this match is that with so much shaky defending, with so much space available, and with so many tactical personnel myth-ups by Matarazzo that they couldn't get that goal. Yeah. So now they finally got it. Justice is served. It feels very deserved. Yeah. We have 5 minutes of injury time now for Hoffenheim to find an equalizer. That guy in the captain's...
he's a Bavarian if I've ever seen one.
Everybody's happy in the Augsburg Ultra section.
Well, they needed it. I mean, that makes that table. Well, say they do get through this last 4 minutes, which you'd expect they will do, especially considering a terrible offside as well there against Kramaric when he didn't need to be offside.
Yeah, you said that Kramaric and Bischoff have had a good game. I mean, apart from that one play, they haven't been all of that impressive.
No, I was probably being a bit too kind, especially on Kramaric when he had the ball in that really good chance in the 3-on-4 and he ran it straight out of play. That was pretty poor. You'd imagine that Augsburg are going to hang on and they get up to 24 points, which I think will be 7-8 points away from the bottom three. So things are looking quite pretty for them again. It's not been their best performance, I'll be honest, but they've done enough to win the game. It did come off the back, Bayo I think, no, was it Bayer? It's really hard to see because there's so many bodies in there. Or was it? Yeah, but anyway, the celebration is big. Pellegrino looks absolutely
came off
gutsy.
of Bayo's back there. I mean, that obviously wasn't part of the plan, but they had Bayo forward, and Engels was clearly instructed to take a tight corner. Just whip one in nice and tight, and there's going to be a lot of bodies running forward. It's a pretty basic set play, but it's one that Mawson at least had the foresight to keep in reserve in the event that he needed a late match winner, and that's how he got one. Yeah. I mean, you could kind of tell.
Fair play to him as well. He gambled, didn't he? Let's be honest, he did gamble with it. I mean, I actually thought that Hoffenheim were getting more on top, but obviously that was part of his plan to open the game up a little bit more with that sub, and it looks as though it's going to come up trumps for him, and he's going to win the game, which is good management ultimately to take those kind of risks to win the games.
Yeah, and well, you could tell when they were. The reason I thought they were going to score is you could tell when they were lining up for that corner that everybody was going to go forward, and that it was just your basic set and rush set piece, and that's why I figured somehow in that line of bodies, with Hoffenheim's markers looking slack as all hell. Meanwhile, since we were talking, thank you for not mentioning the fact that John Anthony Brooks totally missed an offensive.
Yeah, I was going to mention it, but I thought we can't mention him in a worse.
You do realize that for my column, I have to watch this match again, and I have to take careful notes on what's going on with John Anthony Brooks.
It's going to be hard, really.
I've my Americans in the Bundesliga column, the amount of work that goes into it, and sometimes it's joyful work, but I'm not looking forward to following John Anthony Brooks again closely in this match.
Yeah.
I don't know. We just concluded our Valentine's Day show. This is why I'm single, I guess.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. But I'm sure I can join you if you want with that. But to be, yeah. But to be fair, one thing I've got to say, Augsburg have seen this game at expertly, and they've just won a free kick. Now we're into the 95th minute, and I think again, basically TSG have not even had like a half chance in this 5-6 minutes since the Augsburg got the goal, and Akpoguma has just picked up a booking, and we're into the last 30 seconds now, and a free kick's going to come in. Unless he can win the second ball on this free kick.
He has to ditch these wing backs. He's tried everything he can think of now to give it. I mean, Akpoguma, Kadajarbek, they've both started over there now, and it's just ridiculous. Stop trying to find a wing back partner for Angelino. Put Angelino up as an attacking winger. You don't have Grisha Prömel to support your attack. Angelino can do it. Get him. He doesn't have to be a fullback. He doesn't have to be a wingback. He can be a straight buttressing attacker in a front three diamond. I mean, that's what Matarazzo has to do at this point. And I mean, because this light hand. Oh, I'm just going to try to tinker with the existing system. Existing system is garbage.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about Pellegrino Matarazzo? I mean, are you a big fan of him as a coach? Because I mean, at times he did really well with Stuttgart, didn't he? But then, let's be honest, it kind of fell apart badly in the last 18 months or so. Really.
Yeah, I was when he first, I covered him for. He gets graded sections in the Americans in the Bundesliga column too. So I watched every last match that he coached in charge of Stuttgart, and I think his major failing. With that team was bringing up too many young guys out of the academy that weren't ready, throwing them in with complex tactical assignments, and then having dust-ups with them and benching them and things like that. I mean, what's a good example? Alexis TBD, the one that they just parted company with over the January transfer window. Look at that, 1.87.
They massively increased it in the last 10 minutes. It massively went up, didn't it?
Yeah. So a deserved win for Augsburg there. Now the problem you have with Matarazzo is that Breitenreiter, who preceded him, called up all of these young guys from the academy, like Bischoff, like Aslani, like Justin Shea, perhaps, who we haven't seen yet, and they're not ready either. So Matarazzo set up to fail here almost with the same problem that he had at Stuttgart. He's got too many green guys who are not ready for this level of action yet. And then he's going to put them in there. They're going to underperform. They're going to get benched. They're going to get pissed off that they're benched. And then you have players that are alienated from the club. The same exact pattern could develop here. I mean, I still don't think Hoffenheim are in the relegation race. I mean, if
not even in the race, you still don't think they're in the race yet.
I don't. I mean, I have enough faith in his competence that he can put something workable together on the pitch at some point. He may take a roundabout way to doing it, but he's competent enough, and the roster is strong enough. And I think they're going to get Prömel back at some point.
Yeah,
Prömel is the key to this team. I mean, he's the one who you need in order to get this team rolling again.
Yeah. If you look at their fixtures, the next game is a home game against Borussia Dortmund, so it doesn't get any easier. And games are running out. Do you know what I mean? The season doesn't go on forever, does it? But
no. But I mean, we're still only, what is this, match day 21? So
yeah, we've still got 13 games after this, so there's still time. Yeah,
and but it's very true that there is, as we see Matarazzo having a few words with Baumann, his keeper, who's shaky at times as well. I don't think they're part of the discussion yet. I mean, now if Bochum and Hertha and Stuttgart all win this weekend, they have a chance to overtake them in the table.
Yeah,
but I don't think all three of those win. I don't think that Hoffenheim even finish the match day on the relegation playoff place. I don't think it happens.
That's what I wanted to mention, just the table. So that both teams stay in the same place, but I think clearly Augsburg's position looks a lot better. They're pushing back up towards mid-table again now. If they can win their next home game, they could even go to the periphery of the top half. So things are looking a lot better for them on 24 points from 21 games. Hoffenheim are 5 points back from them. And as you say, it is starting to look like 3 from 5, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. Schalke, Stuttgart, Hertha, Bochum, but I can still see Bochum getting clear a little bit. Yeah, for me, I have more faith in Bochum than I do in Hoffenheim. To be honest with you, I'll be honest with you. But I think Stuttgart have got to start winning games like tomorrow, haven't they? I mean, if they can pick up a win tomorrow, it is still a winnable game at the end of the day, and they've got to start winning that kind of game. If they can do that, I have a little bit of hope in Stuttgart that they can start putting a few home wins together, but it's not looking likely at the moment. That's the problem, But this is obviously big games now this weekend, especially if you're a Hoffenheim fan, because, as you mentioned, they can technically finish the weekend second bottom. Actually, they could.
I don't see it happening. I don't know.
No, it's very unlikely. But even if one of them they pick up a point, you know what I mean? Then it's still worrying for them because they're getting dragged further and further into that dogfight, so to speak. And as you mentioned, with BVB to come next week, you don't want to be playing them at the moment. They're the best team in the league right now, so you can't see them getting much out of that one. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, I wish you a pleasant journey to Stuttgart tomorrow. I suppose.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
We did just like we did last time. We can see if there are any questions. I see that Callum said that Hoffenheim is a good club. I disagree. Don't type so fastly. Capitalize Hoffenheim as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed Ballum's question as well. Yeah, about the DFB Pokal. I believe the draw is this Sunday. Actually, I think after the conclusion of the last game of the weekend. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. To be honest, so there's a couple of games that I'm hoping for a little bit more than Nuremberg Stuttgart as well. Actually, like for example, obviously with the banter between Rory, it would be fantastic if Nuremberg played Stuttgart. And we'd probably do a watch along as well for that game, but. From a personal, unless I'm at the game, obviously that is, but it is possible I'll go to the game if I can get a ticket. But I think obviously Bayern and Dortmund are the teams that all the Nuremberg fans really want. Bayern's the hot ticket. The Bavarian derby, the traditional derby. That's the one that the Nuremberg fans really want. But for me, I just want a home draw, to be honest, because most of the teams are interested in there. Even a team like Union Berlin or Freiburg, I'd like to see play at the Max Morlock, but I'm just hoping for a home draw so I can definitely see the game. That's the main thing for me, really. But very excited for the draw. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to be excited about as a Nuremberg fan at the moment, to be honest with you. But this cup run, albeit a little bit lucky, I'll be honest, that they are in the last 8. I'm very excited to see them hopefully draw a big club at home, and then I can do another match day vlog for the game. But yeah, any other questions there? Yeah, just another one from Balamir. Leipzig have been doing well with Marco Rose of the Union. If he could wake them up and get them to win, yeah, it's possible. I think we already talked about that earlier. That I think Peter fancies Leipzig. I'm going to go for a Volkswagen.
Yeah, actually, we'll see. My tips the week before last were pretty good. Last week, I think I only tipped one correctly. We diverged in a lot of different matches there, so it should be a great Bundesliga weekend. Hope it's gotten off to a great start for everybody. Don't forget to tune in to football as it's meant to be.
Yeah, and thanks a lot again for joining us, as we mentioned. So yeah, I'll just close out the show now. So if you enjoyed what you saw, then remember to check out Over the Bar, being at Over the Bar Extra. Remember, we are in partnership with Bully News and Bundesliga Boxes as well. So, I think we've talked a lot about our partnerships with them, so we won't go into more detail just now. Remember to check out our website too, which is otbfootball.net. Obviously, we aren't only a Bundesliga site. Remember that we do produce stuff on pretty much every football-related topic. And don't forget to help us by liking, commenting, and subscribing. So if you missed the show tonight, feel free to comment and let us know what you thought of the game, the result, and what it does for both of these two teams. But yeah, I better get to bed because I've got an early start tomorrow in my trip to Stuttgart.
That's a new match day vlog from Stuttgart. That's a great arena to do a match day vlog.
Definitely,
all of the best. Go visit the Cannstatter Kurve.
Definitely,
they'll be rocking.
It's all planned.
See if you can get some great shots of them. They'll be there at the Mercedes-Benz Arena. There's Cannstatter boys are some of the best ultras in all of Germany. It's going to be a blast, and I'll talk to you all about it on Tuesday. Huh?
Definitely. See you there, guys. Bye bye. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.